Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching second part of What If Naruto was trained by Jiraiya early. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
It was late in the afternoon, which was also the busiest time of day for Konohagakure's market area. There were places to go, places to be, and people to meet for both ninjas and villagers. Since everyone in the village knew one another, faces were typically the same. People's favorite pastime was always daily gossip. As they strolled past the market area, the villagers had their sights set on a specific group of four. Team 7 took in the view while taking a leisurely stroll through the marketplace. As Sakura walked beside Sasuke, she frightened away any girls she believed might be interested in her Sasuke-kun. She had hoped that one day he would ask her out. When he did, she was going to be there. Slower than the two, Naruto was following them. He was receiving unwanted glances from the villagers. Naruto endured the glares while watching stoically. He kept walking without making needless eye contact with any of the villagers. Kakashi was reading his usual book. When the copy ninja has his book out, most people assume that he is unaware of his surroundings and is therefore vulnerable. When a number of Junins challenged him about his methods, he laughed at the misunderstanding. He simply informed them that the book was merely a diversion and that he didn't care if they brought it or not. He valued three things above all else: food, friends, and Icha Icha paradise. He would sacrifice his life to defend Icha Icha paradise because he was its biggest fan. He continued to observe his students as they made their way through the village. Kakashi was aware of the glares that Naruto received. He observed the blonde boy with increasing curiosity, thinking, it must be difficult for Naruto to endure this. The only thing he knew about the boy was that he was very strong. He hoped to spar with the boy again soon. Naruto was idly scanning his surroundings. He felt uneasy, as though someone other than the villagers was watching him. From the corners of his eyes, he attempted to find the source, but it was challenging. The villagers' scowls weren't exactly making things better for him. After reducing his speed to match Kakashi's, Naruto spoke quietly. Kakashi nodded his head to release the boy, saying, Kakashi. Sensei, I have to get something from my apartment first. I'll meet you at the tower in 10 minutes. Naruto ran into someone as he was leaving the group. It appeared that the girl Naruto ran into was roughly his age. Naruto gazed at the girl, who was wearing a white hooded sweatshirt and had bluish hair and enigmatic white eyes. He extended his hand to lift her off the ground, saying, Gomen, I wasn't looking at where I was going. In an attempt to hide her blush, the girl gave him a shy look. She muttered something that Naruto was unable to understand. He took hold of her hands and hauled her to her feet. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. What's yours? Although there was no sound coming from her mouth, Naruto could have sworn he saw it. She glanced down at her feet and said, Excuse me, my name is Hyuga Hinata. Although Naruto couldn't recall the name, he thought it was very familiar. So what are you doing here, Hyuga-san? As Hinata was trying to respond to him by pressing her index fingers together, they heard a voice behind them. Hey, what do you think you're doing with Hinata? A boy with red cheeks was flying in Naruto's direction when he turned his head. The boy missed his target, and Naruto just looked at the approaching human projectile. Holding the unidentified boy's arm firmly against his back, Naruto snatched him from behind and flung him against the wall. Hinata was startled to see her teammate attempting to tackle Naruto. Kiba.kun, Anyo, N Naruto.san H. Here wasn't D. Doing A. Anything to me, H was just T. Talking to M.me. Kiba struggled against Naruto's hold, attempting to break the arm lock, but he was unable to move against the blonde boy. Ow ow, damn let go damn it. Akamaru yelled at Naruto, Grr rough. He held the boy tightly, ignoring the dog's warnings. What did you think you were doing by attacking me? It's against the law to attack a fellow Konoha ninja. Naruto replied sternly. A quiet voice raised its voice. Naruto turned to see Kurenai Yuhi emerge from a store and said, I would appreciate it if you didn't break my student's arm, Uzumaki Naruto. Kiba and Hinata were relieved that their sensei came out at the appropriate time. Kurenai, sensei. At last, Naruto recalled where he had previously heard these names. He first met the girl at the Genin team selection. Each time he turned his head, he saw the girl blushing as he looked at her and staring at him. Your student here jumped into a situation that he didn't fully understand. It would be wise for future references that he should learn some restraints before rushing head-on. Naruto responded with a monotone tone. Kiba continued to struggle. Kurenai arched an eyebrow at Kiba's comment, saying, You just caught me off guard, Dobi. Even weaklings get lucky. She was thinking about what the boy had told her. Perhaps Kiba needs some training. With a frown, Naruto pressed harder on Kiba's arm. Naruto met Kiba's gaze and said, "It would be wise that you also learn some manners." Kiba could see the iciness in his eyes. It was something more than the eyes of a 12-year-old. Naruto's gaze was broken by Kiba, who kept struggling. Naruto replied in a chilly tone, "If you want to fight me, Inuzuka, get ready to fight me with your life." Naruto's voice sounded cold to everyone. After giving Kurenai a chilly look, Naruto threw Kiba to the ground and said, "Enough. Let him go now, Uzumaki-san." His head nodded in Kurenai's direction. "Good day to you, Yuhi-san." Kiba was having Hinata tend to his arm when Naruto passed him. As he passed by, Naruto noticed Hinata staring at him. He gave her a look. It's not polite to use your abilities to spy on someone like that, Hyuga-san. When Naruto revealed her plans, Hinata looked surprised. Hinata bowed her head in apology and said, "Gomen Naruto-san." It was waved away by Naruto. "Don't worry about it." "Hey, where's my apology? Don't you dare walk away from me," Kiba said angrily. When Naruto looked back, he saw Kiba attempting to stand up. "Be a good dog and let Hyuga-san tend to your arm." Kiba started blushing and stammering in the blonde's presence. Hinata's face was getting redder when she realized she had her hands on Kiba's right arm. Damn it, this isn't over," she exclaimed. Shino was leaning against the wall when Naruto passed teammate. The quiet boy nodded his head and rejoined his team, saying, "Thank you, Shino." Coincidentally, Naruto was warned in advance of Kiba's impending attack by Shino's bugs. Shino isn't a bad individual. I'll keep this favor in mind. Now that his troubles had been resolved, he ran in the direction of the Hokage Tower. Kurenai was shocked to see the enigmatic boy without any insight when she turned to speak with him again. Tower of Hokage. It wasn't exactly the most noble place, the Hokage Tower. There was only one window and the room was one dull color. Team 7 was waiting for their final teammate outside the Hokage's door. Sakura complained once more, "Kakashi Sensei, why do we even have to wait for Naruto?" Sakura had been complaining to Kakashi so much that Sasuke had lost count. Without taking his eyes off his book, Kakashi replied, Did you say something, Sakura?" As his student persisted in complaining, Kakashi ignored her and yelled, "Arg Kakashi Sensei, put that book away." Naruto arrived at the Hokage Tower in plenty of time. His team was standing there, looking bored, when he turned the corner and ascended the stairs. Naruto approached them and waved his hand, saying, "Yo." After glancing at the secretary, he waved, "How do you do, Rina-san?" Rina glanced up from her work and gave the young boy a kind smile. "I'm fine, Naruto-kun. Here to see the Hokage again?" Naruto casually held up his hand. "Of course. The old man needs a bit of me in his life or else it would be boring." Rina laughed at the young boy's behavior. The Hokage was respected by everyone in the village, but this boy had no regard for authority. He resembled a wild animal, but a cute one. Although she was aware of his secret, she didn't care. People are going to be like that when you become Hokage as well, Naruto-kun. Naruto just smiled. Naruto waved to the secretary one last time before entering the Hokage's chamber, saying, "I wouldn't expect much of it. Well, I'll take my leave now, Rina-san. Can't let the old man enjoy his day." To check if the rest of his team would follow him, he turned around. "Are you going to come or not?" The secretary said, "We have to wait to see the Hokage, Naruto. You can't just barge in like that." Sakura scowled as she pointed out to her teammate that she had no regard for authority. Naruto opened the room's doors and sought out the person he desired to see. "I can and will. Just watch me." Naruto yelled into the room, "Yo, Ouija-san. I have a bone to pick with you." Sakura gave him a backhand slap. "Baka, I can't believe you just did that, and don't call the Hokage that. How stupid can you even be, Dobi?" smirked Sasuke. Disregarding the Uchiha's remark, Naruto growled at Sakura. He was rubbing his head, obviously unaware that anyone else was in the room. "Do you have a death wish, you eyesore?" he asked. Naruto turned to face the other individuals in the room with the Hokage and asked, "Naruto, what can I do for you today, old man? I demand something else besides these D-rank missions." Sakura gave Naruto another slap. Sakura quickly bowed her head, not wanting to offend the Hokage, and said, "I apologize on his behalf, Hokage Sama." The voice said, "Still no respect, Gaki." Naruto recognized it. It belonged to someone he would always remember. His gaze squinted at the elderly man seated before the Hokage. "Ero. Sennin, did you get caught peeping again?" Jiraiya leapt to her feet and gave Naruto a head slap. He gave Naruto a fierce look and the two began staring at each other, with him saying, "I thought I told you not to call me that, Gaki." Except for Sarutobi, everyone in the room was taken aback by what they had done. Sakura gave Naruto a fierce glare. "I will kill you, Naruto, if we are demoted. Damn you." Sasuke gave Naruto a furious glance. "He just condemned us to a year of D-rank missions, damn that Dobi. I will never be able to catch up to him at this rate." Kakashi gave a little giggle to indicate his interest in the book, but he ignored the scene. Saying, "Naruto, show some respect to a legendary Sannin." Iruka sighed at the boy's disrespect. Team 7's heads turned in surprise. Sasuke and Sakura gazed in shock. Sasuke tightened his jaw. Why isn't he receiving special training since he was the last Uchiha? Why does Naruto always receive more training than I do? Sakura stood there in shock as he glared at Naruto, saying, "I need the power to accomplish my goal." Iruka approached Naruto and gave him a head slap. With a little growl, Naruto said, "What is this?" Smacked Naruto on the head day. "I swear you all have a death wish." After a few minutes of complaining, Naruto rubbed the back of his head and turned to face the Hokage. "Old man, I demand a better mission." Iruka appeared taken aback by the Genin's tone of voice as she addressed the Hokage. Iruka clarified the significance of missions and what they accomplish for the village, saying, "Naruto, watch your mouth. Every Genin has to complete a certain number of D missions." While everyone else was lost in their own world, Sakura was listening intently. Naruto prodded his sensei on the arm and asked, "What are you doing back here, Ero, Sennin?" "Stop that, Gaki. I'll tell you if you just give me a minute," Jiraiya said, swatting Naruto's arm away. "It better be good or else I'll end your peeping adventures for good," Naruto said with a smile to Jiraiya. Jiraiya extracted 2 letters from inside his vest. He gave the letters to Naruto, who accepted them with gratitude. "Here brat, tell them I'm not your personal slave." Jiraiya took a step back and turned pale. "Then I suppose Araki. Nichan will know what you did in her house the last time you were there." "How did he know? If she finds out, I'm a dead man." "Let's not go that far, Naruto." Jiraiya smiled naively. Naruto examined his correspondence. One from Hikaru Chan and one from Araki Nichan. Naruto opened his letter quickly while wearing a shocked expression. He skimmed through the letter and then read it again. Slowly, Jiraiya crept up behind Naruto and glanced at the letter. By the time he read it, Naruto was grinning. Jiraiya thought this would be a great chance to reunite with his Baka student after noticing Naruto's smile. Naruto's face flushed redder than a cherry as he asked, "So, Ero, Gaki, did she send you any good pictures?" After hurriedly putting the letter away, he turned to Jiraiya. Shizuka-san said that you better be keeping your promise. I wonder how I should answer that. Jiraiya backed away slowly and began to laugh insecurely. Why must fate treat me so cruelly? The retreating form of his sensei went unnoticed by Naruto. Jiraiya nodded, relieved that Naruto had stopped bringing up the topic. "I'll give you the letters so you can return it to them, is that okay, Ero? Sennin?" he asked. Jiraiya excused himself and walked out of the room, saying, "Yeah, give it to me soon. You know where to find me." The Hokage was sitting quietly when Naruto turned to face him. "So, how about it, Ouija-san? Make it worth my time." Before making a decision, Sarutobi considered this for a minute. He considered Naruto's skills. Now would be a good time to administer a basic test to him. "Okay, I'll give you a better mission. Iruka, hand Naruto a C-rank mission." Iruka was taken aback. Iruka backed down after Sarutobi gave him a look that said, "But Hokage. Sama." He gave a piece of paper to Naruto. The paper was read aloud by Naruto. "Escort mission C rank to Nami no Kuni. Better than babysitting that damn cat. I'll take it." The Hokage gave a head nod. "Tazuna, come out, your escorts are here." Team 7 turned to face the door as they waited for their customer. A man who appeared to be in his late 40s left. "These are the brats that are going to protect me. The shrimp over there would probably wet his pants when he steps outside the gates." It froze everyone in the room. Everyone was watching Naruto. There was a faint, unsettling smile on his face. Before turning around, he smiled slightly at the bridge builder. Gradually, everyone in the room relaxed. Naruto didn't try to kill the bridge builder, who was still alive. A second later, there were several thuds. Naruto was the only one who didn't turn around to see what had happened. To be more precise, Tazuna was pinned against the wall by a number of kunais, some of which were on his arms and legs and one that was just below his family jewels. The men in the room flinched at what they saw, each imagining the terror Tazuna must have been experiencing. Sakura gave Naruto a head slap in retaliation for his behavior. "Naruto no baka. Don't throw your weapons at our client." Naruto answered in a chilly manner. "My weapons? I think those are yours, Haruno." Sakura regarded this with skepticism until she looked at her weapon pouch. She discovered that her kunais were gone. For a moment, Naruto's eyes turned red, but then they went back to normal. When you play with fire, you will get burned. The room's temperature dropped, and everyone felt it. There was no movement. When Naruto stole her weapons, none of them noticed how quickly he moved. Tazuna inhaled deeply, reconsidering her plan to play pranks on the boy. Kakashi whispered the final line under his breath as he left the room nonchalantly, as though nothing had occurred. "Tazuna, rest assured, I'm a Junin, so if anything happens, I can handle it. I hope." Naruto did the same. How the blonde managed to pull off that stunt was a mystery to the other three. 20 minutes later, the front gate Sakura let out her frustrations as she walked around saying, "I swear those two are always late." Tazuna ignored the girl because she was too preoccupied with sipping sake. He was still getting over what had happened to him earlier. Naruto. That boy had a strange yet recognizable quality. He couldn't help but wonder where he had previously seen that face. "Sakura," she said, turning to face the one yelling her name. She smiled her sweetest smile at Sasuke. "Yes, Sasuke-kun? Yes. Perhaps he's asking us out?" Sasuke turned to face her and slowly retreated. Angry, Sakura nodded her head. "Can you please shut up?" "Yes." Sakura's world is strange. She heard the words, "Can you wait a while longer for me?" Naruto was a minute ahead of Kakashi. He walked past his team and leaned against a tree, staring at Tazuna with a stoic expression on his face. Arriving in his typical puff of smoke, Kakashi greeted his beautiful team. "Sorry, there was a man who needed help with his telescope. I offered to fix it up for him." "Liar!" exclaimed Sakura. Naruto chuckled a little. Kakashi just grinned. Strangely enough, that was the reality. "Anyway, let's get going. In any case," he reasoned, "nobody would believe the truth." Rewind. Jiraiya. Sama. Jiraiya was peeping, his favorite activity, at the nearby hot springs. He let out a sigh. There was never any quiet, there were always disruptions. When he turned around, he saw that only Konoha's copy ninja was there. Jiraiya gave the copy ninja a look that said, "Hurry the hell up, the ladies wait for no one." "Oh, it's you, Hitaki-san. I thought you were the Gaki again. What can I do for you?" Jiraiya said. Kakashi searched for Naruto, wondering if he had left a trail or something. "Was Naruto just here?" he asked. Jiraiya turned back and peered through the peephole, saying, "You just missed him, Kakashi. He was just here dropping off his letters for Araki and Hikaru." He began to giggle and jot down information on his notepad, drooling from the side of his mouth. Kakashi coughed a little. "Jiraiya. Sama, I wanted to know how good Naruto is, seeing as how this is his first C-rank mission." Jiraiya chuckled a little. "Don't worry about anything, Kakashi. Naruto's more capable than most Junins out there. Why, I dare say he is on par with you or even better. I don't know. We never went all out in a spar." Even though it was hidden by his mask, Kakashi's jaw dropped, and he could tell that Jiraiya was aware of his reaction. How is that possible? He's only a genin. Jiraiya had a serious expression on his face and had stopped staring into the peephole. The experiences that life throws at humans teach us so many things. You of all people should know that. Naruto is a gifted child, but not in the way of a genius or prodigy. He never had anything handed to him. He always worked towards his goals. He is someone that will surpass any genius. I'll be damned if that boy isn't Hokage someday. Watch over him, Kakashi. He'll make us all proud one day. Kakashi could not speak. He was at a loss for words. "Oh, by the way, when you see him, tell him to take it off." Kakashi gave him a perplexed glance. "Take it off? Take what off?" Jiraiya smirked as he spun around. "Now. That's for us to know and you to find out. Now if you'll excuse me, my book needs to come out." Kakashi bowed his head instantly. He would be happy to leave him alone if it was for Icha Paradise's benefit. "Thank you, Jiraiya. Sama, I will tell him, and best of luck with the book." Jiraiya was left to finish his work after Kakashi vanished. End of flashback. Kakashi was more eager than ever to fight the boy again. Before departing, Team 7 gave Konoha one final glance as they were packing up. Naruto noticed that his teammates were uneasy. "Homesick already, guys? We're barely 3 minutes away." Sasuke glared at Naruto. Sakura sighed. "It's your first time out here as well. Don't act so high and mighty." Naruto merely grinned at her. I wish you had known Haruno. Kakashi recalled that he needed to give Naruto something. Kakashi looked at Naruto bewilderedly and said, I got a message from your sensei. He said to take them off. Do you know what he meant by that? Naruto remained silent. A small smirk appeared on his face. No, not really. Kakashi didn't think the boy was telling the truth. When someone else is lying, a liar can tell. Kakashi kept walking because he didn't want to complicate things anymore. The group proceeded into the forest on foot. Since Sakura and Sasuke never left the village, the forest was a breathtaking sight to them. Despite the dense forest, sunlight was still able to enter. Naruto and Sakura walked alongside the man, Kakashi followed in the rear, and Sasuke was in front of Tazuna. As the group continued down the road, Naruto noticed a puddle. It's been days since it rained. To improve his sense of smell, Naruto concentrated on his nose. I wonder. Something was down there, he felt. Genjutsu most likely. Kakashi received a brief warning from Naruto about the puddle. After giving the puddle a quick glance, Kakashi motioned for him to move on. As they passed the puddle, Naruto nodded and turned his head away. As they passed the puddle, it started to fade. Too dark. Clad ninjas hurried in the direction of the surprise copy ninja. They twisted their metal chain around the ninja and hurried past him. 1. Down. They tore Kakashi to shreds and tugged on the chain. When Sakura witnessed her sensei being murdered by two enigmatic ninjas, she screamed. The pieces of his dead body lay on the ground. Tazuna recoiled in terror. While searching for his bodyguards, he only noticed the girl yelling. He was sobbing to himself. Why did I end up stuck with her, I wonder? As the ninjas charged at him, he saw his life flashing. As the ninjas charged forward, Sasuke threw a kunai right away. The ninjas were forced to halt their movement when the kunai impaled itself and the chain against the tree. Running forward, Sasuke clothes lined the two ninjas. The chains were forced out of their gauntlets by the impact. Slowly, with intent to kill leaking out, they got back up. Back in front of Tazuna, Sasuke leapt. He assumed the Uchiha stance and prepared himself, saying, I'll protect you with my life, old man. No one paid any attention to the blonde's disappearance as the battle went on. When Sakura realized that Sasuke was the only one engaged in combat, she immediately rejoined the fight. With her kunai firmly grasped in her hands, she stood beside Sasuke. With their claws ready to kill, the enigmatic ninjas charged forward. A pair of powerful arms stopped them as they approached. When Sakura saw who it was, her eyes glowed with joy. Kakashi. Sensei. Sakura exhaled in relief as her sensei appeared before her once more, alive. Looking at his mutilated body, Sasuke saw it transform into a pair of logs. Kawamari? I ought to have known. Kakashi put the two ninjas in a headlock and used pressure points to render them unconscious. Not wanting to show that he was happy with himself, Sasuke turned his head away and said, Great job Sasuke, you too Sakura. His image would be ruined if anyone caught him grinning at this moment. He was finally reaping the benefits of his increased training. Rewind from the Uchiha district came the sound of metal on wood. To show his brother that he was strong, Sasuke was retraining himself. Sasuke let out a arg and threw 3 more kunais in the direction of the tree. The target was hit dead center by all 3. He sprinted in the direction of the tree, kicking and punching. He needs to sleep. He trained for an unknown number of hours today, and his body and most likely everyone else who was sleeping knew it was time to stop. He was unable to move past Naruto's humiliation of him. Naruto and his brother shook off the leaves as Sasuke tightened his fist and slammed it into the tree. He had no one to stop him from killing his brother before Naruto, but since then, it has been more difficult. The enigmatic blonde is concealing something significant. There was nobody left for him, so he fell to the ground on his back. There was no one to return home to, his family had died. If Naruto was the same, he wondered. He witnessed the filthy stares the boy got every day, but he did nothing to stop it. He was extremely irritated by the similarities between Naruto and his brother, including their power, appearance, and even attitudes. Sasuke experienced a brief surge in his chakra before it subsided. It was a long week, maybe it's time to go to bed, Sasuke thought as he closed his eyes and finally dragged himself to bed. Tomorrow, he would need his energy. End of flashback. Taking out a piece of rope, Kakashi tied them to a tree. As Kakashi tied them down, Naruto appeared beside him. Sasuke approached Naruto wearing a broad smile. Got scared, Dobi? Looking at him, Naruto said, petrified. Naruto approached Tazuna and scowled without giving Sasuke another glance. Tazuna swallowed when he noticed the boy's icy expression. We need to talk. Naruto. You have no right to do anything with the client. You weren't even here for the fight. Sakura made the point. She had had enough of his nonsense. She glanced at Kakashi, then back at Naruto, before letting out a sigh. No, Sakura, Naruto's right. We need to have a talk, Tazuna-san. She sat down on the floor and threw her hands in the air, saying, okay, fine, have your little talk. Naruto circled Tazuna like a vulture pursuing its victim. Naruto interrupted Tazuna as she began to say, why are the demon brothers here, Tazuna-san? They don't usually take assassination jobs on unknown people. The price must be high if they wanted your head. It better not be some emotional story or I'll finish the job myself. In terror, Tazuna turned away from the boy and turned to the Junin for support. Kakashi began to look away, paying him no attention. He was happy with Naruto's work style. This boy could teach Ibiki a lot. With his hands raised high in the air, Tazuna said, all right, just keep the boy away from me. He took a seat on the floor and drank some sake. As you know, I'm a bridge builder from Nami no Kuni. Nami no Kuni is a small nation that's poor. We lack the resources to bring ourselves back up, so I took on the project of building this bridge that will make trading easier. He continued to drink from his bottle. But there is a man. Gatu, right? Tazuna appeared taken aback. You heard of him? Naruto gave a shrug. He's supposedly a powerful shipping magnate that has many shady businesses around the country. Tazuna let out a sigh. He came into our island and destroyed our economy by monopolizing the shipping routes that were essential for trade. That's why we couldn't afford to pay you guys any higher than a C-rank mission. Tazuna gave a heartfelt apology. Don't bow your head to me, old man. I could care less about your personal agendas. You paid for bodyguards and we'll fulfill our contract. We don't go back on our words. Wait, Naruto, you can't just make that decision, Sakura said, looking at Naruto in surprise. Sakura then stood up. She didn't want to risk another attack because she was already afraid of the previous one. Before Sakura could protest, Sasuke said, no, Sakura, we will continue this. It wouldn't look good if we failed our first mission, right? Sakura let out a sigh. When these two made up their minds, there was no use in arguing with them. Okay, let's continue this mission, but please be careful, Sasuke-kun. Sasuke nodded his head. Tazuna was relieved that he was still being pursued by these ninjas. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I'll repay you guys somehow. Kakashi grinned at his team as he stood there. At last, they are becoming closer to one another. Now that we've decided, there's no turning back. Do you all agree with this? Naruto may be a chilly person, but his deeds speak louder than words. His pupils gave a nod. The group left a message for Anbu to come and pick up the demon brothers and left, saying, okay, let's go then. After a few hours of driving, the sky turned gloomy and it was time to make camp. They chose a location in the woods that was both far enough from the main road to prevent them from getting lost and close enough for people to see them. Kakashi took the first shift after Sakura and Sasuke went to bed early. Sitting by the fire, Naruto and Tazuna relished the quiet time together. Tazuna continued to find the boys' company unsettling. Determining whether it would be prudent to start a conversation, he took another sip of his sake. Why do you risk your lives for people who don't even appreciate the things you're doing for them? Tazuna's eyebrow went up. He never thought the boy would speak, much less pose a question. Tazuna took another sip of his alcoholic beverage and said, I do this for my family. I want them to be happy. If it means seeing a smile on their faces, I will go through hell and back just to see their smiles. Naruto considered his response. He only had a small group of people he could call family throughout his life. Do you have anyone important to you, young man? A hollow laugh escaped Naruto's lips. Old man, the only people I consider family can be easily counted on one hand. He began to remember the people he cared about, the people he failed to protect, and the promise he made. Tazuna gazed at the boy, asking, have I met you before, young man? He was unable to get rid of that sensation. I'm just a young boy, old man. You can't expect someone like me to be traveling the world. Tazuna chuckled loudly. Naruto left the old man to think as he walked away, saying, you don't fool me, boy. Those eyes of yours give you away. I'll keep your secret for now. Kakashi listened to the whole story while leaning against the tree. He reasoned that the boy needed to socialize more. Everyone involved in the boy's care was aware of it, including the Hokage and himself. The boy needed to become more human, to soften his heart. Kakashi left and returned to his duty of guarding the camp area. The following morning, everyone had just woken up from a restful night. They felt rejuvenated and their nerves relaxed. They carried on with their journey. Naruto sensed a presence as he was moving. Without delay, he pulled out a kunai and hurled it into the bushes, nearly killing the rabbit if it was any lower. To the rabbit Sakura ran. She was gently petting the rabbit in an attempt to soothe it when she said, "Oh you poor thing. Look at what you did, you monster. Just because you hate life does not mean you can kill other living things." Naruto looked perplexed and ignored the girl. It was spring. Why was the rabbit's fur white? The mood of the rabbit can be inferred from its fur. Rabbits with brownish fur were already out of hibernation and hunting for food, while those with white fur were still in hibernation. A kawamari must have been used on it. Sakura returned to the group, but Naruto kept scanning the area. Naruto heard a slight metallic noise approaching them. As Kakashi pulled Sakura and Sasuke to the ground, Naruto yelled, "Get down," and pulled the elderly man down. The group was barely spared their heads when a huge sword soared over them. The man standing atop the sword said in a dark voice, "Hand over the old man and I'll let you live." Momochi Zabuza, the demon of the bloody mist. Kakashi's eyes widened as he recognized the man. Zabuza's eyebrow went up. Oh, the great copy ninja Kakashi. The famous ninja who is rumored to have copied over 1,000 jutsus. When Naruto took a step forward, Kakashi motioned for the boy to stop by holding out his arm. Kakashi lifts his Hite.8 to reveal the Sharingan and says, "Naruto, stay with the others, I'll handle this." What the devil? The Sharingan? As he stared at Kakashi, Sasuke's mind was racing with confusing ideas. So that's the famous Sharingan I heard so much about. I wondered if the rumors were true. I recall something from the Mist Bingo book, they wanted your head dead or alive, Kakashi. Does Kakashi Sensei have exceptional ninja skills? Sakura pondered as she observed the two men conversing. Kakashi kept his eyes fixed on the missing nin, asking, "What is your purpose here, Zabuza?" Zabuza confidently answered, "Gato hired me to kill the old man. Give him over, and I swear not to kill you guys." Naruto laughed. While Kakashi stood motionless in front of his team, Sakura and Sasuke surrounded Tazuna in a circle. With his sword, Zabuza vanished from the tree and fell to the ground, saying, "The hard way? Fine. I like the hard way as well." After doing a few fast hand seals, Zabuza muttered, "Kirigakure no jutsu." Thick fog began to roll in from all sides. Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke formed a circle around Tazuna. Kakashi turned his head and looked around, refusing to back down. In this fog, his Sharingan was of no use. There was nothing he could smell. At moments like these, he wished his eye were a Byakugan rather than a Sharingan. He let out a sigh. Here, beggars cannot be chosen. He was unsuccessful in his attempt to pick up Zabuza's chakra signal. He wished for better fortune for Naruto. Calmly, Naruto was assessing the situation. Kakashi could feel the tension in his students. "Don't worry guys. I won't let my teammates die." Naruto chuckled a little. Zabuza is known for his silent killing style. Silent killing is a method that requires the user to become quick and silent. He'll step in quickly and quietly and kill you before you even know it. In some cases, you would be dead before you even know it. Everyone tensed up once more. Sakura was trembling with terror. Sasuke was shaky. It was difficult for him to breathe. Kakashi gave Naruto a tense look and said, "Guys, take it easy, small deep breaths." Naruto immediately rekindled the other two's fears while he was attempting to soothe them. Zabuza said, 8 places, over the fog. Liver, lungs, spine, jugular vein, carotid artery, brain, kidneys, heart. There are 8 places that I can target and all of them are critical places. Sakura became frightened. She had trouble breathing and was immobile. Does a Junin battle feel like this? Everyone turned to see Zabuza standing in the center of the group with his hands on his Zanbato, saying, "It's over." Kakashi Sensei, screamed Sakura, and Zabuza swung before anyone could react. Kakashi instantly called forth chakra to get up and ran in Zabuza's direction. Zabuza let out a painful arg as he felt someone slam into him, pushing him back. Zabuza was forced into the pond after Kakashi drove a kunai into his stomach. When the Zabuza he stabbed vanished into the water, Kakashi's eyes widened in surprise. "Fool, Mizu Bushin." Zabuza smirked as he emerged from behind him. He effortlessly swung his enormous Zanbato once more, slicing Kakashi in two. When Zabuza saw that the person he had killed had turned into water, he stopped grinning. What, did he also imitate my method in the fog? Behind him, a kunai was placed to Kakashi's neck. Everyone watching the fight exclaimed, "It's over." Given that the mist needed the user to be focused in order to last, it was vanishing. Nobody was going to die today, and Kakashi had the upper hand. Naruto kept a close eye on the battle. He sensed another presence close by, but he was unable to locate it. Zabuza pushed Kakashi in the chest, making the copy ninja take a step back, saying, "Don't get too cocky." Zabuza performed some hand seals and leapt away. Sweden. Tepodama Zabuza shot water bullets directly at Kakashi while putting his hands to his mouth. Kakashi dodged the bullets by leaping into the air, before he could finish yelling, "Kaden!" and preparing his own hand seals. Zabuza materialized above him and struck the copy ninja in the face with his fist. They sent Kakashi straight to the pond. He decelerated sufficiently to touch down on the water's surface. "Caught you." Kakashi turned to watch Zabuza complete a series of head seals while he was encircled by rising water. Kakashi gazed at the demon from inside his prison and said, "Suiro no Jutsu. How could I have acted so recklessly?" Kakashi yelled at his team, "Run, this guy is out of your league," in the hopes that they would take the message and flee. Zabuza made some Mizu Bushins and formed some hand seals. "I'm sorry, Kakashi, but if you had just given the old man over sooner, I would have let them live, but now, it's too late for that." A dozen copies of Zabuza materialized and sprinted in the direction of the group. Kakashi smiled sadly at the real Zabuza. Zabuza looked perplexed at Kakashi and said, "No, Zabuza, I feel sorry for you." Before Zabuza could ask any more questions, water splattered everywhere and his clones were defeated. What do you mean?" Kakashi simply laughed and said, "There is a boy that is even stronger than me." When Zabuza realizes that tactic, his eyes enlarge. The phrase, "Shiranui.ryu, Suchi Batsu," was echoed by a voice. Rock fragments flew in the direction of the real Zabuza, but he used his own sword to knock them all away. With his sword resting on his shoulder, Naruto stood there. Everyone's eyes were wide with surprise. Sakura and Sasuke were staring at Naruto's skills and his sword. Naruto gave Zabuza a scathing glare and said, "Why Zabuza, surely you remember me." Zabuza dared not back down. He remembered the boy, and his eyes widened in terror. "Why are you here? You should have been dead." Naruto smiled eerily at him. Naruto rushed forward in the direction of the missing nin, saying, "You should have made sure then. Have you met my newest addition? Meet Tenro?" Naruto attempted to slash Zabuza's neck with his sword, but the enormous Zanbato stopped him. Kakashi was freed from prison by Zabuza. After appearing beside Kakashi, Naruto snatched his vest and flung him back to the ground. As he stood back up, the copy ninja could only nod, "I'll handle this, Kakashi." "Sensei." He was taken aback to discover that Zabuza was genuinely afraid of Naruto and that Naruto knew him. "Let's settle this once and for all, Zabuza." Naruto struck the man with his sword. Zabuza swung his sword horizontally after parrying the blow. While the others on the opposing side just stared, the two engaged in a sword fight. Sakura was piecing things together when she asked, "Who is Naruto, Kakashi?" "Sensei." On equal footing. No genin should be able to defeat an A-rank missing nin with this much power. Without even glancing at Sakura, Kakashi said, "I don't have the answer to that question, Sakura." He tried to watch the fight but was too preoccupied. Sasuke clenched his hands into fists until his knuckles were white. He was enthralled with the battle. Was he envious of Naruto? "I must have his power." What was the blonde's power? He dismissed his emotions. No, he was determined to push himself further until he defeated Naruto. "I'll beat you one day, Naruto." Standing there, Tazuna was astounded by the boy's ability to match the demon of the mist on an equal footing. Naruto thrust Zabuza in the shoulder as the onlookers on the ground kept watching. While Naruto pulled his sword from the wound, Zabuza was pushed back. The wound widened and blood poured out. He then swiftly swiped at the blonde's head, but Zabuza ducked and kicked him away. He got to his feet, gasping for breath. With his icy gaze fixed on Zabuza, Naruto stood before him. Zabuza glared at him while gasping for breath. "What, tired already? You have gotten soft in your old age, Zabuza." He was exhausted from the fight. He would have been okay if it had only been Kakashi, but it was really great to see this boy here once more. He was aware that he had no chance. "Tired? No way." Zabuza sprang at the youngster. He yelled, "Sweden! Tepodama!" and swiftly formed a familiar set of hand seals. Water bullets began to fly in Naruto's direction once more. Naruto looked through a number of hand seals that Zabuza didn't recognize and asked, "Pathetic, is this the man you became, Zabuza?" "Sweden. Junsai no Jutsu." Naruto was surrounded by a wall of water that absorbed the majority of the bullets. Where was the man that I respected? Zabuza snarled. Naruto directed his chakra into his right hand and slammed it into the demon's face, saying, "That man is dead, brat. You don't know the hell I went through." Zabuza was thrown off the river and into a tree by the impact. With his sword extended, Naruto materialized in front of the man. "Then the last thing I can do for you is to grant you a quick death." The rest of Team 7 was listening in on their conversation. They were curious about Naruto's relationship with Zabuza and how he knew her. Having already used his Sharingan, Kakashi was exhausted. When he saw something strange about Zabuza, he pulled his Hide.8 down. He felt that the missing Nin's chakra levels were out of balance. "Naruto, look out." Zabuza grinned and kicked Naruto away, so the warning was too late. "Suiden. Suiryuden no jutsu," he yelled. "Never look away, brat." Zabuza made the attack his main focus. The brat could not have made it through this. The water dragon leapt to its feet and charged directly at Naruto. All Naruto could do was shake his head. Concentrating chakra into his right hand, Naruto asked, "Don't you know when you're already beaten?" The attack broke apart when he slammed his fist between the dragon's eyes. Zabuza emerged from where the water dragon had been as the attack collapsed. "Don't count me down yet." He sealed his last hand quickly and focused intently. It was either now or never. "Suiden. Daibakufu no jutsu." Naruto gazed at the enormous volume of water approaching him. "That's a lot of water, holy shish." Naruto tried to move his legs, but he was unable to do so. He understood why he was immobile. He got some rocks caught between his legs as a result of the dragon's attack. It wasn't until now that he noticed. His eyes widened when he saw how directly the attack struck him. "Naruto!" exclaimed Kakashi and the other members of Team 7. Naruto was struck so forcefully by the explosion of thousands of gallons of water that it felt like 1,000 metal objects were beating him. His body ached all over, and he felt like a shattered puzzle that was being smashed repeatedly. Despite the fact that his chakras were now low, Zabuza managed to put one over the brat as he stood there panting. Naruto got to his feet with difficulty. Naruto smiled slightly at him and said, "Almost had me there, Zabuza." Zabuza lacked the strength to respond to the boy. With a renewed respect for one another, they met each other's gaze. After going through several hand seals, Naruto extended his hand in a Ryu seal. Before long, lightning appeared on the battlefield. Naruto's hand was glowing brightly, and noises came from it. He yelled the well-known method's name. Raijin Morien no Jutsu. Zabuza's gaze expands. He had heard stories about this method. The brat must have been telling the truth if he was employing this tactic. With his hands raised, Naruto charged forward with the intent to kill. Several Senbon needles impaled Zabuza by the neck before Naruto could reach it. Zabuza collapsed to the ground, motionless. Astonished by the abrupt change in circumstances, Naruto cancelled his technique. Alongside the corpse, a shadowy hunter. Nin emerged. The hunter. Nin's head lowered. "Thank you for your assistance." Naruto grabbed the fallen ninja's wrist as the hunter. Nin drew closer. With a startled expression, the hunter. Nin asked Naruto, "What do you think you're doing, partner?" With some difficulty, he tried to get rid of the iron grip. Kakashi approached Naruto with his Hide.8 back where it belonged and said, "Naruto, you did a good job, now let the hunter. Nin do his job." Stunned by Dazuna's display of power, the other members remained with him. The hunter. Nin caught Naruto's attention. The hunter. Nin took the hand off Naruto's wrist and tossed him a bag full of Ryo, saying, "This is my prey, if you want it, you'll have to fight me for it." Naruto grinned to himself and turned to face the hunter. Nin as he turned around. "Tell him next time we meet, I'll kill him." Knowing that his cover was now blown and that his chances of escaping were rapidly dwindling, the hunter. Nin vanished right away. Kakashi gave Naruto a startled look. "How did you know that he wasn't a real hunter. Nin?" Naruto disregarded his inquiry. He was too exhausted to respond. His will to remain conscious was rapidly eroding as he felt his body ache in pain. As he felt himself losing consciousness as he fell to the ground, Naruto said to no one in particular, "I should have listened to Ero, Sennin." The warmth that came with darkness was a constant sensation. He strongly disagrees with the claims that darkness is numb and cold. He had no idea what this warmth was if it wasn't darkness. He nearly felt as though his parents were holding him in their arms. He yearned for a family and the emotions and memories that the term evoked in others. Sasuke gave a painful grunt. He certainly did not have a good day. He had been forced to carry Naruto on his back. After the battle, Kakashi fell to the ground, claiming that his chakra was almost completely gone and that Sasuke was the only one left who could carry the blonde. He gave Naruto a look. Nobody had any information about him. He was still thinking about the earlier fight. On even ground, Naruto engaged in combat with a highly skilled missing nin. He remembered the jutsus that Naruto had displayed, and anger began to rise. Furthermore, where did he obtain the sword? Why did it appear so strong and exotic? The boy was the subject of so many unresolved questions. He sighed. The mere thought of it was giving him a headache. As long as the blonde remained unconscious, he would be unable to obtain his answers. He glanced at Kakashi, who was chatting with Tazuna while they were walking to her house. As the group walked, the small talk stopped and there was silence. The same question was on everyone's mind. Who was Naruto Uzumaki? Sakura turned her gaze to her fallen ally. He's not by regular standards a genin like us and he knows Zabuza somehow. When Sakura realized she had spoken her mind out loud, she looked at him in surprise. Not a regular genin. What do you mean by that? Sasuke asked, perplexed. She blushed, embarrassed, and her cheeks turned red. Sakura was spared the trouble of explaining when Kakashi said, "You guys are only half correct." She thanked her sensei in silence. Kakashi was reflecting on his earlier discussion with Jiraiya Sama when he said, Naruto has experienced things that we couldn't even begin to experience. It is our very own life experiences that make a person stronger. All the training that we do, the training that we receive and the jutsus we know will be useless if we don't have the experience to use them efficiently. Naruto has all of them which allowed him to advance this far. At the rate he is going, I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a legend someday. Tazuna gave a head nod. You can see it in his eyes. The boy carries a burden on his shoulders. Kakashi chuckled to himself in silence. If only you were aware of what Naruto was holding. Sasuke saw the amused expression on Kakashi's face. Kakashi ignored the boy, asking, What's so funny, Kakashi? Sensei, do you know something about Naruto that we don't? He wished to live to see the next volume of Icha Icha Paradise because the third's law was still in force. He gave an evil laugh and asked, Do you really want to know what I'm thinking? Sasuke gave a headshake. It was probably best to keep it a secret. Sakura was reminiscing about their initial encounters with Naruto. With the exception of when he insulted her and Sasuke, the blonde remained silent. He didn't talk much about his past or his goals in life. Even his brief introduction to Team 7 contained no noteworthy details other than his transformation into the greatest Hokage and... Sakura's gaze expanded. I detest this village. His words reverberated in her mind. He despises the village. What if Naruto chooses to harm them in some way? Until she faced Naruto, she made the decision to keep her thoughts to herself. The group eventually caught sight of a small town. Everyone turned to face the town as Tazuna grinned and said, We're finally here. Something felt different. When you look at Konoha, you see people having a good time, joyful and energetic, but this town is quiet and depressing. With the exception of Naruto, who was already asleep, the group arrived in front of Tazuna's house exhausted and ready to go to sleep. Tazuna opened the door and greeted the men, saying, Welcome to my humble home, guys. Tazuna shouted, Tsunami, I'm home. The voice said softly, I'm in here, Dad. One of the women emerged from the kitchen. Tsunami bowed her head and introduced herself, saying, Oh, you brought home guests. She turned to face the group and said, Welcome to our home. A silver-haired man with a few children. She looked at the blonde. She hurried over and removed him from Sasuke's back, asking, Oh Kami, is he okay? Sasuke dropped the boy into her arms with gratitude. Feeling relieved that Naruto was at last off his back, he stretched his sore muscles. He's okay. He just passed out from exhaustion. All he needs is some sleep and he'll be good as new. Tsunami sighed, that's a relief. Let's get him to bed then. Sasuke noticed Kakashi giving him a strange look. Kakashi calmed Tsunami down with a casual wave of his hand. When he realized what his sensei was implying, he gave Kakashi a scowl. He just had to carry him again after getting rid of the heavy load. With a sigh, Sasuke lifted Naruto again and carried him into the spare room. The following morning when Naruto opened his eyes, he saw no members of his team and did not recognize the place. In case he had to fight his way out, he moved his body slowly, indicating that everything was okay. He slowly stood up and discovered that he was in a tiny space. Outside the door, he heard some sounds. It is quite an odd moment for me to be without my sword. Without creating any sound, Naruto moved slowly toward the door. He waited until he was certain that his guards had left before acting, but he paused when he noticed the door opening slowly. Naruto leapt behind his alleged captor as the door opened. He covered his throat and mouth with his hands. The scream from his captor caught him off guard. A scream that was very feminine. If he was attracted to older women, he turned his captor around and saw a beautiful woman. Everyone in the house heard her scream. He was suddenly filled with sounds from outside. Tsunami, what happened? Are you okay? Tazuna and Team 7 hurried into the room. Naruto took a step back, attempting to comprehend the circumstances. Someone better tell me what's going on. Naruto apologized to Tsunami for unexpectedly approaching her after Kakashi clarified that he was in Tazuna's home and that Sasuke had brought him here after he fainted. She assured him that it was okay because she was to blame for not knocking on the door. Naruto nodded his head when Kakashi turned to face him and said, "We're having breakfast downstairs. Why don't you join us?" Naruto's eyebrows went up as he said, "Then we're going to do some training." Kakashi noticed the boy's eyebrows going up. "Yes, training." Naruto laughed a little as he followed everyone downstairs for breakfast. "Yes, training. Zabuza's still pretty much alive and kicking, so we're training." In the woods, Kakashi was followed by Team 7 into the densely forested woods. Naruto did not like how green it was. Kakashi was standing before a very strong tree. "Okay guys, today we're doing tree climbing." With a perplexed expression, Sakura said, "But we already know how to climb trees, sensei." Behind his mask, Kakashi smiled at her. But not like this. After applying some chakra to his feet, Kakashi ascended the tree gradually until he was hanging upside down from a branch. He noticed Sakura and Sasuke's shocked expressions and said, "This is ninja-style tree walking." Naruto's yawning caught his attention. "Well, I may need to do something extra special for him." Kakashi threw a number of kunais down to his students, saying, "The point of this training is to climb the trees using your feet." Sasuke and Sakura picked up the kunais and gave it a try, saying, "Apply some chakra to your feet and try it. You may not use your hands." Sasuke turned his gaze to the tree. "All right, apply some chakra and climb." He focused some chakra on his feet and began to ascend. He ascended roughly 3 feet before he leapt off the tree as it split beneath his feet. Kakashi noticed Sasuke's issue. Too much chakra and you'll be blown away, whereas if you have too little chakra and you'll fall. Everyone looked up to see Sakura far up in the tree and said, "Hey, this is pretty easy." Kakashi's eyebrow went up. "Oh, it looks like she surpassed the mighty Uchiha and the person who wants to become Hokage in this exercise." Sasuke glanced at Kakashi. Sakura caught Sasuke's glance at Kakashi. She did not want Sasuke to be upset with her, so she said, "Shut up, Baka." "Kakashi. Sensei." Kakashi scowled toward the boy and said, "TCH. I'm not doing this exercise. Won't or you can't, Naruto." Naruto gave him a disinterested glance. Naruto seized the kunai and used the tip of his finger to balance it, saying, "You're just wasting my time here." Naruto grinned at Sasuke and said, "Being a clown won't help you in this exercise, Dobi." Calmly, he climbed the tree while maintaining his kunai balance. He passed Sakura as he made his way up the tree. He walked up to the top and down again. Sasuke glared at him and asked, "How did you like my act, Sasuke?" "Chan. What the hell? I will defeat you, Naruto, after completing this exercise." Kakashi gazed in wonder at the boy. In order to prevent the kunai from falling, he concentrated chakra into it in addition to climbing the tree. He was simultaneously performing 2 exercises. Fantastic. His chakra control is superior to Sakura's, in my opinion. Then, we'll try water walking. Kakashi landed on the ground after leaping from his branch. "Wow, looks like you're not just all talk, Naruto." Sakura, continue walking up and down the tree, and Sasuke, continue until you finish with the exercise, and you. Kakashi glanced at Naruto. Kakashi left Naruto behind and began to walk, saying, "Come with me." Naruto followed the older ninja, shrugging his shoulders. As he passed Sasuke, he grinned at him. Sasuke glared at him so fiercely that if Naruto were a tree, his remains would not be left behind. Try not to lag behind, dead. Last. Naruto laughed and turned to leave. With determined expressions, Sasuke gazed at the tree and sprinted in its direction. In another part of the forest, Naruto turned to face his sensei, looking bored. "What do you want now, Kakashi?" "Sensei." Actually, Naruto preferred solitude so that he could train without prying eyes. Kakashi gave him a serious response. Naruto laughed a little and said, "You already asked Ero." "Senin, you don't need to ask me." Kakashi looked at him in surprise. "I want to know the extent of your abilities." Kakashi nodded his head and said, "Don't ask how I know, I just know he told you." Naruto nodded and asked, "Okay, do you know the water walking technique?" Naruto approached the water and completed his task after being told. Then let's take it up a level. I want you to do a one-arm handstand on top of the water. He looked at Kakashi as he turned his head. Now what? Kakashi responded to him in a cruel manner. Kakashi pulled out a number of kunais and wrapped some string around them, saying, now the fun begins. Naruto gave him a crazy look and said, this is to build up your already large chakra reserves and improve your sixth sense. Sadistic instructor. Oh, why do they always seem to be around me? In other places Araki was enjoying the quiet while sipping her daily cup of tea. She gave a small sneeze. She rubbed her hands together and said, that damn brat must be talking about me behind my back. Payback is going to be fun. Returning to the lake while Kakashi was having a great time, Naruto was still fighting for his life. From every side, he was avoiding Kakashi's kunais. Compared to the standard water walking exercises, he found this to be more difficult. Naruto continued to dodge the weapons, but he eventually noticed that he was growing weary. Then he realized that he was standing on top of water and improving his arm, which was why he was using twice as much chakra as was necessary. Oh, tomorrow I'm going to be sore. A few hours later Kakashi returned to Sasuke and Sakura. Training with the blonde was enjoyable. He had the opportunity to do to his sensei's son what he had always wanted to do to himself when he was a genin. Retaliation was sweet, huh? When Kakashi got there, Sakura was sitting there looking worn out. The training today must have doubled her chakra reserves. From the area, faint sounds of kunai scratching against the tree were still audible. As he continued to march up the tree, Kakashi noticed that Sasuke's markings got bigger. These three are going to be a frightening group. He observed that their abilities were growing every hour and that Zabuza will have his hands full when we meet again. Kakashi vanished in smoke, leaving the others to return at their own speed. Okay guys, good job. Let's go back. Sakura slowly stood up, attempting to regain sensation in her legs. As she watched Sasuke rise higher and higher, she said, Sasuke-kun, let's go back ne? Before leaping away and landing on his knees, he made one last scratch. He was mentally berating his sensei for this absurd exercise as he tried to catch his breath. He rose slowly and made his way to the house. Within the home, although he didn't see the final one, Kakashi saw that two of his students were present. Did any of you guys see Naruto? He asked, but Sasuke showed no interest. Sakura was too exhausted to respond, and he got no response. It appears that he was responsible for finding the blonde boy, he sighed. The door opened as he approached it, barely avoiding the ninja's face. Whoops. Watch yourself there, Kakashi. Sensei, I might have broken your face or something if you were closer. Kakashi watched Naruto smirk and scowled. That was too carefully thought out and too close. Now he was going to keep an eye on Naruto. After shutting the door, Naruto greeted Tsunami. As he prepared for dinner, Naruto nodded his head and said, dinner's in a little bit, why don't you go wash up? A few minutes later they were all seated for a quiet dinner. Because everyone was exhausted, there were no glares exchanged and normal conversation went without a hitch. Where were you all day, Dobi? Too good to train with us. Sasuke glared at Naruto, who ignored the Uchiha and kept eating. A pair of hands slammed the table, and a pair of chopsticks fell to the table. Why do you try so hard like that? Even if you train, you can't beat Gatu's men. No matter how hard you work, or how big you talk, against the strong, the weak loses. Drops of tears fell onto the table. Inari gave Naruto a fierce look. The young boy's eyes were wet as he said, you, Uzumaki, I hate your cocky attitude, how can you be like that? Nobody intervened, allowing the boy to express his frustrations. You think training is going to help you become a hero? A hero is useless and stupid. Naruto consumed his food. Naruto put down his chopsticks slowly and said, are you done whining yet? You're ruining my meal. Everyone stared at Naruto, wondering where he was taking this. Are you that desperate that you have given up hope already? They asked. Naruto vanished and then resurfaced by the wall, clutching Inari by the throat, before Inari could respond. Without even noticing the boy's movement, Kakashi leapt to his feet. Naruto poo. Naruto interrupted the copy ninja by raising his hands. Naruto's gaze shifted to Inari. In a chilly monotone, he said, go on, tell me how much you hate me and how I'm going to die. Inari has been afraid of dying since he nearly drowned in the river. Never in his life has he been so terrified. He was most frightened by Naruto's eyes. They were so harsh and frigid. In fact, he noticed that the boy in front of him was smiling. Naruto burst out laughing. You are just a pathetic piece of trash that Gadu probably wouldn't take the time to even kill. You are a waste of his time and mine. So why don't I do both of us a favor and kill you right now? Naruto pulled out a kunai and slammed it against the wall, nicking the side of Inari's face but missing his face by a few centimeters. The blood began to trickle out. As Kakashi and Tazuna ran up to Naruto in an attempt to save the boy, Tsunami screamed, terrified for her son's life. From the corner of Naruto's eye, he could see their progress. Move another inch and I'll kill him. Kakashi took a slow step back. Team 7 remembered the tale Tazuna had told them about Inari's father. Calm down, Naruto. He's only a boy, he doesn't know what he's saying right now. Sakura and Sasuke were standing there observing Naruto. They didn't know what Naruto was capable of, so they didn't want to move and let him kill the boy. Inari was never far from Naruto's icy blue gaze. The boy thought he was looking into a demon's soul. The harsh words Naruto was using against the boy made everyone cringe. Brat, you know nothing about a hard life. So what if your father is dead? Is crying going to bring him back? I bet he's crying in his grave right now because you're so useless. Why don't you actually do something with those hands of yours? If you die in the process, you could have said that you tried and died, but here you're whining about your problems. Grow up. A scroll fell when Naruto extended his left hand. Naruto had the sword in his left hand when the Tenro quickly replaced the scroll. Naruto swung his sword at Inari and said, "Say hello to your father for me in the afterlife." Everyone hurried forward as Tsunami screamed. When the sword came to a halt just inches from the boy's neck, everyone stopped. Naruto grinned. That's the way to go, Inari. You told me you didn't care, but your eyes tell me differently. Consider yourself lucky. I'll kill you if you whine again. Naruto threw the child to the ground. Sakura kept yelling at the blonde for attempting to kill the boy, saying, "Naruto, you're going to be in so much trouble for this. I'm going to report this." Ignoring her, Naruto walked out of the house. Kakashi saw that Inari was not trembling. In a life or death situation, a normal person would be trembling, but he wasn't. Later, he planned to speak with the boy. Tazuna and Tsunami hurried to console Inari. Later on in the evening, Kakashi noticed Inari gazing out into the wide ocean while she sat by the docks. "Is it okay if I sit here?" he inquired about the boy's well-being following the Naruto scene. Since the boy didn't respond, Kakashi assumed that he was saying yes and sat down beside him. You know, Naruto didn't mean to say all of those things, he doesn't think when he speaks. There was still no response from the boy to Kakashi. Reflecting on the past 12 years, when his sensei was still alive, Kakashi recalled, you know, Naruto grew up without any parents, without friends, without anyone. If only you were here, sensei, to lead him. Inari cast a sorrowful glance at Kakashi. The boy stood up and left the copy ninja alone, saying, "Don't apologize for him. He made me see something that I was too blind to see." In the woods, Naruto swung his sword at another clone, making it vanish, saying, "Arg, stupid people and their attitudes piss me off. Damn them all." He whirled and simultaneously slashed 3 clones. A clone was kicked into the air with the words, "They don't know the pain I feel." Naruto flung his blade to the floor. The clone was topped by Naruto, who said, "They don't know how it feels to be alone." In Naruto's hands, a Rasengan developed, saying, "They don't know what it is like to be me." For a moment, his eyes glowed red. "Uzumaki Raisin!" he exclaimed, launching the sphere into the clone and dispelling it before he hit the ground again. He looked around. It was no longer a lovely spot to gaze at the best of nature. Now it was a scene of devastation. Debris, craters, and fallen trees are all over the place. Naruto let out a sigh. He closed his eyes and collapsed onto his back. He slept off his exhaustion and welcomed the return of the nightmares. The following morning, Naruto was rudely woken up by a bucket of water. He glared at his practical joker as he leapt to his feet, losing his sense of direction. When he saw who it was, his eyes widened. "You." In other places, Sakura was tasked with finding the blonde. "Stupid Kakashi. Sensei. What can be going through that mind of his when he's sending me out to look for Naruto?" After the blonde's brief incident last night, nobody seemed to care or want to know where he went. After he left, she remembered, no one called his name. Sakura walked through the forest in the hopes of spotting wolves devouring his lifeless body. She let out a sigh. I wish she had that kind of luck. She decided to find out if the voices she heard talking nearby were those of someone she knew. She approached the voices and let out a gasp upon recognizing the person. Naruto and the hunter. Nin from the other day were there. Kakashi. Sensei claimed that this person was Zabuza's accomplice. Is he working for the enemy? Thus, Naruto is also on the side of the enemy. Oh. Kami. This is serious. I must alert Kakashi. Sensei. Sakura noticed Naruto rolling on the ground with the hunter.nin and laughing. For her, that was sufficient evidence. She hurried back to inform Kakashi right away. Naruto is back. Naruto was wrestling with him while holding him in a headlock. Haku, you jerk. How long has it been since we've met? Naruto asked. As he struggled to free himself from the headlock, Haku said, get off me, dummy. The boys didn't notice anyone fleeing because they were too preoccupied with wrestling. Haku eventually separated from Naruto after more wrestling and Naruto getting wet. Naruto grew weary of staring at the foolish mask and said, take off that stupid mask, Haku. In any case, he has worn one for the majority of his life. Haku took off his mask and put a hand to his face. Didn't want to scare you so early in the morning, Naruto, Haku chuckled. Naruto lay on the ground, leaning back. So how is Zabuza doing? Haku's response was solemn. He will be okay, he's the kind of person that doesn't stay in bed long. He'll be up and ready in no time. Now my question to you is, why are you here? Naruto let out a sigh. Long story. To make it short, those are Konoha ninjas and they're part of my team. I'll give you a warning though, stay out of my way so I can finish this mission. Haku received an icy look from Naruto. Haku gave the blonde the same cold glare in return. We're also here to do a job. It looks like we'll have to fight. Don't come crying to me when I kill the other two. Before it became a full-fledged laugh, Naruto chuckled a little. I wouldn't even cry if you kill them right now. In fact, it'll be easier for me. Haku looked at him incredulously. He became aware of Naruto's changes. Do you still not have any precious people? Naruto gave a shrug. Whenever the two were conversing, this topic would somehow always come up. The same as always, they can always be counted on one hand. Haku gave him a dejected look. Haku departed, leaving Naruto to ponder. Then you still don't understand, Naruto. Returning to the house through the door, Sakura cried out, Kakashi. Sensei. When Sakura screamed, everyone who was eating breakfast jumped up. Kakashi surveyed the home. There were no indications of an attack. Sakura shook her head and asked, are we getting attacked? Sakura shook her head once more when asked, are we going to be attacked? Then don't scream. After that, everyone became calm and went back to eating. Everyone's attention was drawn to the statement, wait, I saw Naruto with the hunter.nin from the other day. I was walking through a forest and then I heard some voices, so I thought I would walk closer and find out if it was Naruto or not. When I got closer, I saw Naruto and the hunter.nin laughing and wrestling around, like they were old friends. There was doubt in Kakashi's eyes. Since he didn't even like other people and would never betray his team, he would never have believed Naruto to be a traitor. He was still thinking about what might have happened. He couldn't match Naruto like this, so if there was even the remotest possibility that Naruto betrayed them, he would have to ask for backup. I highly doubt that he's a traitor, Sakura. Maybe your eyes were playing tricks on you. Sakura was about to respond when they heard Naruto enter through the open door. He waved to them and took a seat. Everyone stared at him sourly. Everyone was quiet and tense, Naruto observed. Nobody spoke for a long minute. What? Do I have something on my face? Sakura yelled, you're a traitor. While brandishing a kunai. Naruto's outburst surprised him. What do you mean? Behind Naruto, a voice said, it's just like she said, Dobi. A kunai tip touched his throat. He knew who it was without even turning around. Sasuke gripped the kunai tightly at the boy's throat and asked, Teme, what do you think you're doing? Because of their outburst, Kakashi wanted to slap them. He did his best to keep things under control because this was not the right way to handle the situation. It's not what you think, Naruto interrupted his sensei. Killing intent slowly seeped out of Naruto. Having the Teme holding a weapon against my throat and Haruno calling me a traitor would really explain why everyone is giving me strange looks. Sakura began to tremble. Is Zabuza going to kill us? This was worse than when we fought him. Sakura felt remorse for unconsciously opening her wide mouth. Sasuke was experiencing its full impact. His arms began to shake. What is this sensation? He seems capable of killing me without even blinking. When the girl didn't respond, Naruto went on, so you saw me with Hakuha Haruno? I sensed you were there. Only an idiot would miss your screams of, oh Kami. Kakashi gave Sakura a disbelieving glance and said, while you ran back. Everyone in the forest heard your pathetic voice. Sakura lowered her head in embarrassment. Tezuna's gaze was fixed on the scene before him. You could feel the tension in the situation because it was so tense. Aren't you going to stop them, Kakashi-san? Kakashi cast a severe glance at his group. Put down the kunais now. Unsure of what to say, Sakura glanced at her sensei before responding, but Kakashi expressed some of his own desire to kill. Now, everyone exclaimed, staring at the copy ninja. He had never screamed before. With hesitation, Sakura and Sasuke dropped their weapons and sat down beside their sensei. Naruto felt good again and rubbed his neck. A voice behind them said, "My clone would have vanished if you had pressed any harder." When they all turned around, they saw another Naruto standing there, his face expressionless. They watched as Sasuke's kunai, wielding Naruto, vanished in smoke. Naruto vanished after saying, "At least with Haku, I know who I can trust or not." Kakashi let out a sigh. Wonderful, simply wonderful. The following day Team 7 is performing guard duty for another day. Everyone was tense because Zabuza would be arriving any moment to complete the job. All they could do was hope Tazuna completed the bridge before he arrived. Sakura was yawning because she found it boring to watch people move. Sasuke was thinking about himself while gazing into the river. Kakashi didn't care what his students were doing because he was too preoccupied with reading his book. Everyone in Team 7 jumped up when they heard someone complaining about the heavy fog entering. Kakashi set his book aside. As Team 7 surrounded Tazuna, everyone rushed off the bridge and shouted, "Everyone get off this bridge now. Tazuna, come over here." The voice said, "Hello Kakashi, Zabuza, it appears that you arrived early." Kakashi yelled back into the fog. The group was confronted by two figures. Zabuza was standing there, gripping the Kabikari Hucho tightly. "You got lucky last time Kakashi." The same Hunter.Nin was the second person Kakashi saw there. When Sakura recognized the boy, her eyes grew wide. The look Kakashi gave her told her to stop talking. "I told you so Kakashi, sensei." After shouting, "Mizu Bushin no Jutsu," and flipping through some hand seals, Zabuza said, "Let's make this quick and painful." 5 water clones emerged in addition to the group. Kakashi turned to face Sasuke, who was trembling. "I'm surprised that you didn't train your group Kakashi. The boy is shaking over there." Sasuke grinned. "I'm trembling with excitement, not fear." The 5 water clones vanished in a flash. Zabuza frowned. "Looks like you have been training them Kakashi. No matter, Haku will be more than enough for you boy." Haku gave the boy a look. "I'll finish this quickly, he doesn't look like much." He bowed his head and vanished. Kakashi brought out the Sharingan by raising his Hite.8, and Naruto isn't here this time. Returning to the house outside the house, 2 figures emerged and slowly entered. Tsunami heard a knock on the door while she was in the kitchen making lunch. Setting the knife aside, she proceeded to open the door. When her guests forced their way in and bound her, she was caught off guard. Inari dashed downstairs to investigate the disturbance. Tsunami yelled for her son to run when she saw him sprinting down the stairs. "Run Inari." Zori caught up to Inari before he could get very far. The shorter captor said, "Waraji, what do you want to do with the boy?" Waraji, who was taller, was holding Tsunami tightly when he said he only wanted 1 hostage. "Let's take him as well, with 2, they wouldn't dare to make a move." Tsunami got up and said, "Stop. Let him go or else I'll kill myself. If I'm dead, you won't have much of a hostage." Zori chuckled. "We have your son you know." As a mother, Tsunami worried about her son's safety. She was crying now and pleading with God to keep her son safe. "Please just let him go," she said. Zori drew his blade and struck Inari, saying, "The boss told us to do whatever with the kid so we'll sharpen our swords on his body." Inari closed his eyes and Tsunami screamed. A voice said, "You disgust me," out loud. When the thugs turned to face Naruto, they saw him holding Inari. When Inari looked up to see his savior, he asked, "You okay Inari?" Naruto turned to the thugs and nodded, asking, "Naruto?" Zori turned to face the child he had just stabbed, only to discover that it had become a log. Waraji glanced at Tsunami and said, "What the?" before she too became a log. Tsunami and Inari were standing beside Naruto. He turned away from them and turned to face the mother and son, saying, "You guys disgust me." They both gave a nod in response to the question, "Are you guys okay?" "I'm sorry I didn't get here sooner. I saw their markings in the forest and decided to follow them." Naruto was talking when he failed to notice the 2 thugs running toward him with deadly blades. When Tsunami saw the 2 men in close proximity, her eyes widened. She attempted to warn Naruto about the thugs by saying, "Look out Naruto.kun." Naruto smiled slightly at her. Naruto sheathed his sword and clicked, saying, "It's okay. People who have their hearts full of lies and deceit can't escape the Tenro." The two men died and fell to the ground. The fact that they failed to see Naruto drawing his sword frightened them the most, even though they could see the thug's clean strikes. Inari nodded and gave his mother a hug. A hero always comes at the last second, Inari. I believe that you have the will to change things. Don't ever be afraid of your dreams. He was gone before he had a chance to turn around and thank Naruto. On the bridge, Sasuke was engaged in combat with Haku, a hunter.nin. While Kakashi was fighting Zabuza, Sakura was watching Sasuke and protecting Tazuna. Blast these ice needles. Sasuke had spent the previous 5 minutes avoiding these needles. Haku made some more ice needles and hurled them at Sasuke, saying, "You're not that bad for a genin. Speak for yourself." Sasuke yelled, leaping for the air. Kaden. Hosenka no Jutsu. Haku was hit by several fireballs. The hunter.nin dodged the fireball by leaping away. Haku turned to see Sasuke behind him and said, "You're slow." Haku twisted in midair just in time to avoid Sasuke's kick. Sasuke threw a spin kick at him as part of his ongoing attack. Sasuke vanished as Haku ducked under and prepared to throw a left hook. Bushin? Haku looked back but saw nothing. Doden. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. Haku appeared shocked to see why he was being pulled beneath. He fought against the boy's hold. Haku pulled Sasuke from the ground as he leapt and directed some chakra toward his legs. Sasuke smirked at him, then released his grip and continued sealing his hands. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu. Haku was directly hit by a massive fireball. He narrowly avoided the fireball. Gritting his teeth, he was burned and briefly fell to the ground. Sasuke put his kunai to Haku's throat and said, "It's over." As he watched the boy execute hand seals with one hand, Sasuke was taken aback and said, "For you maybe." Sensatsu Suisho no Jutsu. Sasuke saw thousands of ice needles fly in his direction. Sakura screamed as she watched the fight. Alongside Kakashi, when Kakashi looked back, he saw thousands of needles flying in the direction of his pupil. Zabuza struck him in the face with the blunt end of his sword, saying, "You shouldn't look away, Kakashi." Kakashi landed on his feet after flying back and performing a backflip. He swore at himself for turning his head away. Kakashi turned to see mirrors forming around Sasuke and said, "Your student isn't doing so well, Kakashi." Zabuza chuckled. It looks like Haku is finally getting serious. Alongside Sasuke, Haku gave the boy an admiring glance. He barely got away from his Sensatsu Suisho. Perhaps it's time to step it up. Haku swiftly whispered the name while performing the hand seals. The jutsu caught Makiohyo Sho Sasuke off guard. He noticed that there were mirrors all around him. I don't need to look at myself. To Sasuke's further surprise, Haku stepped into the mirror and scowled, saying, laughing in the face of death, "You remind me of someone." Senbon needles were thrown at the boy by him. Despite his best efforts to evade the attack, Sasuke noticed that he was becoming lethargic. He caught a glimpse of Haku moving between the mirrors and thought, "Damn it, I'm running low on chakra." Haku saw that Sasuke could follow his moments to a certain extent. It's not good if he awakens his bloodline limit during this fight, he thought as he passed through a few more mirrors to check if the boy had done so. Alongside Kakashi, Kakashi was struggling to stay clear of the enormous sword. Gata. In order to block a blow from the left, he lifted his kunai. Its power was the reason, not the fact that he couldn't avoid it. Your sword style is so easy to read, Zabuza. It's only the power of your strikes that makes you strong. Zabuza chuckled. Kakashi didn't take the time to watch Sasuke because he wasn't going to let his team die today. It is you who is easy to read. I'm only stalling for time until your student dies, Kakashi. Alongside Sasuke, he saw his reflection in the mirrors and realized his Sharingan had awakened. I can see it. He smirked wearily at Haku. A little too late, he had discovered his bloodline limit. Haku threw a flurry of Senbon needles at Sasuke and transported himself through another mirror, saying, "The mighty Sharingan. A pity that your life ends now." He was too exhausted to move and could feel his legs giving out. When the needles struck his arms and legs, he let out a painful grunt. Beyond the mirror, as Sakura saw her beloved Sasuke fall to the ground, punctured by needles, she let out a horrified scream. Tazuna looked at the blonde-haired ninja leaning against the rail and thought, "Oh, that must hurt." Sakura glanced in Naruto's direction. She pointed her hand inside, and her face was filled with hope that Naruto would save Sasuke. "Naruto. You're here, thank God. Go in there and save Sasuke," she said. Naruto chuckled. "No," Sakura's expression changed from one of shock to one of rage. "Why not? Go in there and save him." Naruto chuckled once more. I'm just a traitor, aren't you afraid that I'll kill him? Sakura was taken aback by his answer. She was unsure of how to respond. Please, I'm begging you, she whispered softly. Tears began streaming down her cheeks as she collapsed to her knees. She struggled to decide whether to save the boy she liked or to trust Naruto. Tazuna turned to face the girl, who was sobbing and pleading with the boy to go save the other boy, but they were at fault in this situation. He was accused of betraying their group, but the damage had already been done. When she started crying, his heart shattered. Naruto. Naruto looked at the man who built the bridge. Naruto scowled at the man and said, "Don't go and talk to me like you know my life." Naruto turned to face the sobbing Sakura and said, "The way you're acting now makes you no different from Gadu. If you have the power to do something, do it." Despite his gut instinct telling him otherwise, the pain in his heart was telling him not to save Sasuke. They were his teammates. Possibly even friends. Even though they had accused him of betraying the country. He let out a sigh. He didn't want to be on a team because of this. He replied, "Fine Pinky." Sakura heard. The blonde boy was running away when she looked up. In the mirror again from a distance, Haku observed the boy. He reached back and hurled another bombardment of senbon needles at Sasuke, saying, "Your eyes are impressive but it's too late for you." Sasuke shut his eyes and awaited his demise. Sasuke waited for the impact to strike him, but nothing happened. I didn't even get to kill him. When he opened his eyes, Naruto was standing before him. The boy exuded a serene aura that he sensed. Sasuke glared at the boy's back and said, "What are you doing here, Dobi? I was handling this just fine." Naruto moved forward in an attempt to sense something. Naruto turned to face Haku and said, "Ungrateful Teme. A simple thank you would have been fine. Just sit back and let a real ninja handle this." Naruto was on high alert, saying, "Haku, why don't you leave the Uchiha out of this and we'll finish this once and for all." He detested the mirrors in Haku. Haku threw some needles at Naruto, saying, "He is a threat to Zabuza and I can't allow that." He leapt away as soon as he heard the approaching needles. He twisted in midair to dodge more needles when he noticed Haku emerging above him. Sasuke was on the ground, barely escaping the needles, thanks to Naruto. For the second time in his life, he felt powerless as he watched Naruto battle. He got back up on his feet with difficulty. "No more, I'm going to get stronger from now on." His eyes glowed with resolve. He was prepared to sacrifice himself to save Naruto. Dobi move. When Naruto noticed Sasuke performing hand seals, he moved. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu while Haku was changing mirrors. A massive fireball sped in his direction. At the end, he saw that his clothing was burned. "I can see it, Naruto. If you can distract him, I'll hit him." Naruto laughed. "Don't hit me then." Before attacking, the boys exchanged glances and nodded as though they were expressing agreement. Sasuke hung back, keeping an eye out for any unexpected movements, while Naruto charged and executed some cage bushins. Running forward, Naruto attempted to smash the mirrors. The clones were dispelled by a shower of senbon needles that flew at them as Naruto got closer to the mirrors. As he ducked beneath, Naruto smirked and saw Haku avoiding yet another fireball, this one coming closer and closer. Haku was never one to concentrate on more than one foe. He preferred one-on-one combat. Naruto leapt to his feet and stood beside Sasuke. "Can you keep it up?" Sasuke gave him a sly smile. "I'll last longer than you." After chuckling, Naruto continued his cage bushins. "Bring it on, Teme." Naruto hurried away, making erratic movements to divert Haku's attention. Sasuke observed that Haku would lean out toward the mirror for much faster strikes whenever he was ready to make one. "Naruto, above you." Haku was about to toss his needles when Naruto looked up. He jumped after applying some chakra to his knees. When Haku saw Naruto flying toward him, he appeared taken aback. He took the blow and dragged Naruto down with him since he was unable to dodge in time. Haku saw Sasuke exposing himself before he fell. Haku threw some senbon needles at the unanticipated boy and head-butted Naruto, discarding the blonde. Arcing his head back, Naruto observed Haku's hand motions. He was shocked to see who Haku was aiming for, and his eyes widened. "Move it, Uchiha." When the needles pierced his body, the warning was too late. Naruto sprinted in Sasuke's direction and grabbed him before he could fall. In an attempt to gauge the extent of the harm, he held him up. Naruto was wearing a worried expression. "Stupid idiot, if you only moved." Naruto caught Sasuke's attention. Sasuke coughed and went on, "Hey Dobi, a sad smile doesn't suit you. Kill Itachi for me, will you?" As Sasuke felt his energy ebbing away, His hand fell to the ground as Naruto held his hand and said, "Don't worry, Itachi is as good as dead." With a shudder, Naruto dropped Sasuke to the ground. "You went too far this time, Haku." Haku was standing well away from Naruto. "I thought you said you wouldn't care if I killed them, what happened now?" Naruto got to his feet. He was gazing at Sasuke's corpse. He remembered the arguments, fights, and glaring contests they had had. He would even acknowledge to Sasuke that they were engaged in a rivalry akin to that of brothers. They no longer shared a bond. Naruto gave Haku a direct glare. "I know what I said, and I was wrong." With irate eyes fixed on Naruto, Haku took off his shattered mask. Unexpectedly, Haku charged directly at Naruto and said, "You're just a hypocrite. You know that, Naruto?" Naruto crashed through the mirror after Haku threw a hard left to his jaw. Blood came out of Naruto's cough. "Everyone has their reasons and I have mine, Haku." Naruto was kneed in the face by Haku, who then materialized in front of him and grabbed him by the collar. Naruto met Haku's gaze and said, "Look me in the eyes and tell me you didn't choose them over us. People change, Haku, you should know that." Head-butting Haku, Naruto lowered his head. He stumbled back, but Naruto had enough space to charge at the boy. After drawing his fist back, Naruto threw it directly at Haku. Haku felt his jaw being struck squarely by the fist. He flew in the direction of the fight between Kakashi and Zabuza. Kakashi leapt away, sensing what was about to happen. When Zabuza saw Haku flying in his direction, he grabbed him by the shirt. Naruto showed up next to his sensei. "Hello, Zabuza." Zabuza gave the boy a sneer. "I'm going to have your head today, boy." Kakashi turned to face Naruto. He saw the blood on his clothing and the wounds. "Where is Sasuke?" Naruto lowered his head, but he kept his gaze fixed on Zabuza. Kakashi's eyes widened as he said, "He's dead." Over the mist, he heard a scream. Sakura appeared to have discovered Sasuke's body. Naruto shook the ideas from his mind. His eyes shifted to the two before him. At the sight, Zabuza burst out laughing. He smiled as he held the Kubikiri Haucho in his right hand and said, "Those eyes, those are the eyes that I want to kill." "You're finally back, Naruto." Haku cleaned his face of the blood. He extended two Senbon needles. "Let's settle this once and for all." A sword appeared as Naruto produced a scroll. After taking the Tenro out of its sheath, he slipped into a stance. "Let's." Kakashi stood there, watching the battle between the two begin, as Naruto charged in. The mist that had once shrouded the battlefield was blown away by a chilly wind. It had changed from being the bridge's natural gray floor to something more. A dead body was visible from the inside of what was left of an ice dome, and blood was spattered across the bridge. Miles away, a girl's sorrowful cries could be heard, lamenting the dead, and most importantly, the sounds of battle continuing. Kakashi noticed the shift in his pupil's eyes as he looked at him. Red slit pupils had replaced his once icy blue eyes. This was definitely not good. Naruto calmly waited for his opponents to move while holding the Tenro firmly in his hands. Zabuza swung his sword at Naruto and began to laugh, saying, "Those eyes. Those are the eyes that I waited so long for." With a kunai in hand, Kakashi leapt forward to attempt to prevent the Kubikiri Haucho from decapitating his pupil. "Please, God, let me make it." Kakashi persisted until he realized he wouldn't make it. He was fortunate that Naruto's neck was only a few inches from where the blade stopped. It wasn't until he let go of the breath that he became aware of it. Zabuza turned to face Naruto, who stood quietly. "Last time I did that, you nearly wet your pants." "Last time we met, I could have killed you," shot back Naruto. Zabuza gave him a snarl and was ready to attack when Haku moved forward. "Naruto, we can still stop this meaningless battle." Zabuza knocked him back just as he was about to continue. "Silence, Haku. Don't interfere in something that does not concern you. I have been waiting for this battle for a long time." Haku was about to respond when Naruto interrupted in a monotone. "This battle cannot be avoided. You of all people should have known this." Haku murmured. He was aware that this day would arrive. From the moment they met 2 years ago, it was predestined. Rewind 3 years prior. Haku glanced over his shoulder and said, "Zabuza-san, we have to run now." Currently, he observed 5 hunter nins pursuing them. An insider had tipped the enemy off, and they were fleeing a botched assassination attempt. They fought a battle they believed they could win, but it ended in failure. Zabuza noticed that his arms were already in poor condition, with blood seeping from the wounds and his chakra quickly running out. Haku's situation was no better. His remaining chakra was insufficient to care for the hunter nins. When a huge wall of mud materialized in front of them, they abruptly stopped. When Zabuza turned around, he saw the hunter. Nin's already behind him. Momochi Zabuza, you are hereby ordered to stop and pay for the crimes that you have committed. He swore at his bad luck. After an unsuccessful assassination attempt, he now had to contend with these ninjas. A mysterious voice reverberated through the trees. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I can't let you guys do that. Seeking the voice, the hunter. Nins scanned their surroundings. When the ninjas turned around, they noticed a boy standing behind them with blonde, spiky hair, but it wasn't the last thing they saw. After giving them a smile, the boy muttered something. Shiranui.Ryu. Satsujin Ken. Suzaku. The group saw a red phoenix fly by above them and then hit the ground. Naruto sighed as he glanced at his sword. Useless hunter. Nins. He threw away his sword after noticing a crack in it. Useless sword, they don't make them like they used to anymore. Zabuza gazed at the youngster. The boy, who appeared to be no older than 9, defeated a team of seasoned ninjas by himself. It might be an enemy in disguise, so he was on his guard. Whoever you are, I didn't ask for your help. Before he spoke, Naruto glanced at Zabuza. Naruto smiled and stepped forward, saying, you know, your head is worth about 600,000 yen Ryo. I could kill you right here for the money. The boy's features caught Zabuza's attention. His red eyes were the most striking feature, along with the whisker lines on his cheeks. With senbon needles in each hand, Haku hurried ahead of Zabuza, ready to protect him from the approaching danger. First you guys tried to assassinate Araki. Nichan, and then you run like cowards. Naruto advanced one more step. Uneasy, Haku tightened his hold on his needles as the boy drew nearer. When you try to hurt one of my precious people, you will deal with me. Zabuza felt like a young boy surrounded by wolves, and death was certain to come. Naruto let go of his desire to kill. Haku was trembling uncontrollably. He had never encountered such a murderous intent that was so vile and spiteful. Chakra started to accumulate, and Naruto started creating hand seals quickly. Zabuza's heart began to race. He was truly afraid for his life for the first time. He was looking for something to trade with the boy in an attempt to come up with a way out. He saw the sword resting on the floor. Stop, boy. Spare us and I'll do something for you. Naruto halted his progress and chuckled. Didn't you know that dead men can't tell any tales, Zabuza? Gazing at the boy, Zabuza would have liked him if he hadn't been about to die. This boy stood out from the others because of something in him. You heard of my name, but do you know who I really am? With a bored expression, Naruto asked, does it really matter? Zabuza tightened his jaw. This boy was very conceited. Haku gave Zabuza a strange look but said nothing. Let us go for now, and in return, I promise to teach you some kenjutsu. Naruto considered this suggestion. He had heard of the Kiri no Shinobugatan and Nananin Shu, but it had been a while since he had a teacher other than Gensai. They were said to be the world's finest swordsmen. Okay, but know this. Once we're done, I'll kill you, Zabuza. I promise you, he said, nodding his head. Naruto started to turn around and leave, but he stopped. Be ready in 2 days, I will find you myself for lessons. Relieved, Zabuza collapsed to the ground. He only needed to train the boy and himself in the hopes of receiving a challenge in the future, as his life had been spared. Haku exhaled a breath of calm. Perhaps this was an opportunity to make a new friend. End of flashback. Naruto fixed his gaze on his former sensei. He hasn't changed much over the years. He still covers his mouth with bandages and doesn't wear a shirt. You're mine. Zabuza grinned and disappeared, shocking everyone. Naruto felt as though he was ensnared in a vortex of vibrations. His speed. I can't see how he moves. He felt a chill graze his cheek. Ignoring it, Naruto continued to concentrate on locating Zabuza. He was not shocked to discover that the warm substance dripping down his cheek was blood. Before Naruto felt a sharp object slicing him from all sides, he heard laughter reverberating throughout the space. In an instant, he was on his knees, one hand gripping his sword. Naruto was suffering from the agony of the wounds. He could feel his energy ebbing away gradually. Naruto could still feel Zabuza all around him when he looked up. When Zabuza slashed his back, Naruto paused his statement to scream in agony. You have gotten better, Zabuza. I'll give you that. Did you have enough? Zabuza asked Naruto as he reappeared before him. Naruto smirked at him as he looked up. Naruto disappeared in front of the missing nin, saying, the fun's only beginning. When Zabuza was unable to keep up with the blonde's speed, he was shocked. Zabuza surveyed the area. When he saw a silver substance, he instinctively raised his own sword to block, saying, he's even faster than me. He could feel the blonde's attack pushing him back. Gazing directly into the ninja's eyes, Naruto grinned and asked, "Is this all you got, Zabuza?" Naruto frowned as Zabuza snarled and, using superhuman strength, pushed the boy away. Before doing some hand seals, Zabuza strapped the sword to his back. Kirigakure no Jutsu. Once more, mist began to pour in from all sides. Zabuza gave himself a smile. He can't possibly outskill me at silent killing. Naruto kept his senses sharp as he gazed into the fog. There must be a method to get rid of the... After securing his own sword to his back, Naruto calmly surveyed his surroundings. "You're always using the same tricks, Zabuza. Please allow me to introduce to you one of my own original techniques." Naruto inhaled deeply and began to flip through hand seals, futon. With his last seal raised, he muttered the name, Tsujikaze no Jutsu. Huge gusts of wind blew in from all sides, piercing the fog and creating a wall around Naruto. The winds responded to Naruto's movements as he clenched his fists and drew his arms up to his chest. The winds drew nearer to Naruto as he drew his arms toward him, eventually encircling him in a sphere. After glancing around for a moment, Naruto let go of the jutsu. Naruto was ejected at high speeds and rushed out in all directions as winds exploded from him. As the winds cut through the mist and carried it away from the area, the mist had no chance. The new method left Kakashi speechless. He wasn't even capable of doing it. He gave a disbelieving shake of his head. "Naruto is the greatest mystery. If you keep up your current pace, you may even surpass your father." However, Haku's gaze was directed past Naruto rather than at him. Naruto spun around just in time to stop Zabuza's swing. When he saw Zabuza's current state, he grinned. The demon of the mist was covered in blood on his arms and chest, and he was wounded all over. "That must have stung, didn't it, Zabuza?" Zabuza gave the blonde a sneer. The boy surprised him by turning the winds into a huge whirlwind and making them as sharp as knives, even though he had assumed that he would use some sort of wind technique to remove the mist. Zabuza turned to face the boy. The injuries he had previously inflicted had vanished. Zabuza was observed by Naruto gazing at his previously healed wounds. He spoke softly to him in a whisper. "Your title of Demon of the Mist is nothing compared to what I am." When Zabuza noticed another Naruto leaping behind him and slicing through some hand seals, his eyes widened. "Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu." Naruto scowled as he watched the Zabuza dissolve into the water in front of him. "Mizubushin." Then that implies, he turned to see Zabuza rushing in his direction. Naruto found himself unable to jump as he readied himself to do so. His legs were frozen in place when he looked down. When he realized that Haku had the opportunity to freeze it with the water from that Mizubushin, his eyes widened. When did he? Now that he was stuck and unable to adopt a proper defense stance, Naruto snarled. When Kakashi noticed Naruto struggling, he rushed to his pupil. Sensing something approaching, he leapt to the side just in time to spare his legs from the senbon needles. In front of the elder ninja, Haku emerged. "I can't allow you to interfere with Zabuza San's fight." Kakashi swung at the boy after drawing a kunai. "Get out of my way. I won't let my student die here." Haku ducked and jumped out of reach. "Will you please stop interfering? I don't want to kill you." The boy was becoming obnoxious, so Kakashi gritted his teeth. He stood between Naruto and himself. "Move or I will go through you." Kakashi rushed forward in the hopes that the boy wouldn't do something foolish when he remained motionless. He lifted his fist and punched Haku when he noticed the boy was motionless. Haku caught a slow motion glimpse of the fist approaching him. He used his senbon needles to stop the punch. To his surprise, Kakashi saw pieces of metal stopping his punch. Who exactly is this boy? Kakashi leapt over the boy and kicked him in the head with a roundhouse kick. Haku rolled away and ducked under. He quickly threw some needles at Kakashi as he stood back up and then leapt to his feet. Kakashi saw Haku in midair and swiftly sidestepped the boy's attack. He saw this as a chance to eliminate the boy without expending any more chakra. Kakashi was about to execute a jutsu when more needles flew in his direction, stopping him in his tracks. Halfway up, Kakashi met Haku after leaping to his feet. Haku whispered to Kakashi as he descended. "You should have taken my warning, Kakashi-san. I don't want to kill someone who is precious to Naruto." Kakashi observed the boy using one hand to perform hand seals. He's only using one hand. Unbelievably. After completing his jutsu, Haku pointed it at Kakashi. Sensatsu Suisho no Jutsu. Thousands of ice needles flew in Kakashi's direction. Kakashi squinted and then countered it by going through his own hand seals. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu. Kakashi launched a massive ball of fire that directly confronted the assault. Steam was created as a result of the fire and ice colliding. After landing on the ground, the two ninjas waited for the other to move. Kakashi wasted no time in taking the lead. He took out a scroll, smeared it with blood, and then slammed it to the floor. After focusing some chakra, Kakashi yelled, "Kachiyose no Jutsu." Despite not seeing anything emerge from the scroll, Haku sensed chakra being released. Haku was about to advance when a number of dogs of various sizes leapt to the ground and attacked him, each biting his limbs to render him immobile. Kakashi stood up again and turned to face the boy, saying, "It's over." On the day Haku discovered how to freeze water, Naruto mentally cursed. He was nearly helpless because his legs were frozen to the ground. When Zabuza realized Naruto had no protection, he kept hitting him. Naruto attempted to retaliate, but his legs were stuck in one spot, making it impossible for him to stay balanced and launch a counterattack of equal strength. The ice would tear off a piece of him if he removed it with force, and Zabuza wasn't giving him enough time to do so. Haku's Kekkei Genkai is damned. I suppose it's time to demonstrate my progress to him. Under his bandages, Naruto noticed Zabuza grinning viciously as he readied the last blow. "It's over," he said, swinging the sword toward Naruto's head as Kakashi and Haku watched it approach. Naruto prepared for it by closing his eyes. Kakashi yelled for Naruto to open his eyes as the sword drew nearer and swifter. Naruto lifted his hand and grabbed the sword as it drew closer. Zabuza scowled and kept pushing, but it refused to move. Opening his eyes, Naruto said, "Yes, it's over." Soon after, Naruto's chakra exploded, blasting Zabuza away if he hadn't been clinging to his sword. Naruto refused to let go of the sword when he attempted to yank it away. The chakra started to release more quickly and didn't slow down. For his own safety, Zabuza was forced to leap away. It was not good for his health to be exposed to chakra that close. Naruto smiled as he glanced at Zabuza. Naruto slammed the Kabikari Hucho into the ground and held his hands together to form the boar seal, saying, "You wanted me at my best? Well, you got it. Biju Haushutsu. Level 1? Gazing at Naruto, Kakashi sensed the release of the massive chakra signature. Is the seal damaged? This isn't good. They would be dealing with more than a few missing nins if the seal broke. If the worst happened, Kakashi had to end this battle and go assist in containing Naruto. You gave me a great fight, Haku, but I must finish this. Kakashi focused chakra on his hand and executed 3 hand seals. Chakra started to appear around Haku's hand as he gazed at the ninja. Haku muttered into the wind, "I'm sorry Zabuza-san that I couldn't help you achieve your dream." Kakashi glanced up at the young man, who was incredibly talented despite his youth. Something had to be said to the boy, he thought. Haku closed his eyes and waited for death to take his soul as he ran towards the boy. "My name is Hitaki Kakashi and this is my original technique, the Chidori. It was an honor to do battle with you." Naruto looked around and extended his arms. Once again, he felt the chakra flowing through his body. Naruto noticed that Kakashi was charging directly at Haku while using some sort of technique after sensing a tremendous amount of chakra emanating from him. Naruto wasted no time in shunning Shin from his territory and in front of Haku. When Kakashi saw Naruto standing in front of Haku, he was taken aback. He attempted to move his arm in a different direction but was unable to stop himself in time. When Kakashi witnessed Naruto halting his attack with a single hand, he became even more shocked. He pushed Kakashi away from Haku by grabbing him by the wrist. Kakashi glared at Naruto and let go of the Chidori. "What do you think you're doing, Naruto?" "Fulfilling a promise," was Naruto's response. Kakashi could sense Naruto's serene aura. The dogs holding Haku down vanished when Naruto waved his arm over them. "Haku, my debt to you is now repaid." "You still don't get it, do you?" Haku asked, looking up at the younger boy, and sadly shook his head. "Why are you so afraid of letting people form bonds with you, Naruto? It is these types of bonds that will only make you stronger, not weaker. Don't be afraid to embrace them." Perhaps it was time for a change, Naruto sighed. When Naruto saw Zabuza charging directly at him, he had no time to think. Haku watched Zabuza and Naruto dash off. "Stop, Zabuza-san. We don't have to fight anymore." A hand was placed on the boy's shoulder by Kakashi. "It's useless. Zabuza has lost all reasoning. All we can do now is believe in Naruto and hope he can bring peace to Zabuza." Naruto fought to escape Zabuza's hold. Ignoring the blonde, Zabuza yelled, "Let go of me," and kept dragging the boy to the ground. Naruto dug his heels into the ground and attempted to stop when he realized he couldn't escape. Slowing down, Zabuza soon found it impossible to move against the boy. When Naruto swiftly took the Tenro off Zabuza's back and slashed back, Zabuza was unable to cut him. "Stop running and fight me. I waited for this day for a long time." A battle of brute force broke out between the missing Nin and Naruto. He gazed into the old swordsman's eyes. Naruto pushed the sword away and performed a kickflip on Zabuza before charging in. "You are not the man I once respected, Zabuza. You've become something that you yourself swore you wouldn't become. You're becoming just like that Mizukage Zabuza. I can't let you be like him. I will kill you before you do. Leave this world with no regrets," Naruto said. With a firm grip on his sword, Naruto performed his move. Shiranui.Ryu. Kurayami Sakakaru. It's not over yet. Zabuza succeeded in using his own sword to deflect the attack. Both sides fought for control but were unable to come to an agreement. Zabuza chose to risk everything on the final push after noticing a change in the boy's posture. "I have you now." Zabuza slashed the sword from Naruto's hands and pushed in. The Kabikari Hucho was just inches from Naruto's neck as he watched his sword slip out of his hands. Grinning, Naruto put his hands on either side of the sword. As blue balls of whirling chakra emerged from both of Naruto's palms, Zabuza's eyes widened and he said, "Game over." Calmly, he covered the sword with both hands. Naruto whispered the name of the renowned technique as he pushed his hands, which held the balls of chakra, into the sword. Rasengan. Everyone stood there, waiting to see what would happen as the jutsu approached the sword more and more. Zabuza had the privilege of witnessing his priceless sword being reduced to numerous scrap metal fragments. Zabuza's eyes widened as the explosion occurred right in front of him as the Rasengans finally made contact with the sword. After the dust settled, Naruto was standing over a fallen Zabuza, breathing slowly and holding on to his sides. "This match goes to me, you stubborn fool." Kakashi and Haku approached Naruto cautiously while examining the harm inflicted by the attack. To the astonishment of all, the sword was only broken in half. The bridge was no longer in excellent shape and now resembled a battlefield. Haku went to check on Zabuza to see if he was still alive. Naruto noticed Haku's anxious expression. Haku exhaled. "Don't worry, I didn't kill him. Zabuza had simply passed out." "Aren't you going to explain yourself?" Kakashi asked, glancing at Naruto. Naruto laughed in response. In due time, someone's voice called out to the group, "Oi guys!" They exclaimed as they turned to see Sakura strolling slowly behind Tazuna, who was approaching them slowly while holding Sasuke in his arms. Kakashi lowered his head in remorse. He had not kept his team safe. Sakura glanced at Naruto and noticed his eyes as Tazuna dropped Sasuke beside Zabuza. They had changed from being blue to red. "You promised you would have saved him." "I know but," Naruto said, glancing at Sakura. Sakura slapped Naruto before he could finish that sentence. Sakura held up her hand to slap him once more, but Naruto stood there, waiting for it to arrive, but it never did. "How could you? Why couldn't you have died instead of him?" Sakura said. She was thrown to the ground after Haku grabbed her hand. "Naruto, why are you letting her abuse you like this?" The Naruto I knew wouldn't take abuse from anyone. Naruto left, leaving only his thoughts to accompany him. Naruto noticed a group of people approaching them as he took a few steps. Naruto stood there, wondering who they were, as they approached. The man chuckled and his fellow soldiers imitated him. "So the mighty demon of the mist got beaten, huh?" he asked. The man laughed once more and said, "At least now, I won't have to pay him." When Tazuna recognized the man, she took a step back and collapsed in terror. "Gee, Gatu." Gazing at the diminutive man, Naruto said, "So that's the mighty Gatu." Haku gazed at the short man, his anger visible in his eyes. Haku lunged at the man, saying, "How dare you make fun of Zabuza.san like that?" But Naruto knocked him back. Haku nodded slowly, wondering how Naruto managed to get from that side of the bridge to this side so quickly. "Leave this man to me." Gatu's men brandished their weapons in defense of their boss as Naruto approached him and said, "So you're the infamous Gatu." Gatu signaled his men to drop their weapons by raising his hand. "So you heard of me? Who are you, boy?" He grinned, "You may have heard of me. I'm Naruto Uzumaki of the Denku clan." Gatu's eyes grew wide. The Denku clan was known for having powerful clan members. He might also be able to hire this boy. "I heard of your clan, boy. How about you come work for me? I'll reward you with riches beyond your dreams." Naruto pondered it for a moment. When they heard Naruto support the enemy, everyone's eyes widened. "Sure, why not?" Gatu merely chuckled. The ninjas were pointed at directly. "Great. For your first job, kill them all, he said. With pleasure. Naruto smiled, then executed a few hand seals before yelling, Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 20 Narutos materialized beside him. With a groan, Kakashi lifted his kunai and said, everyone get ready. The gods themselves were aware of it, as was he. In this state, he is unable to defeat Naruto. Haku tried but failed to conjure some chakra. Sakura began to shake, and Tezuna's mouth dropped open as he wondered how this had happened. The Naruto army started to charge at them but quickly halted. Why the hell did you stop? I said kill them. Gato scowled. Naruto threw aside his clones and turned around. Gato, head of a major shipping company and current mafia boss of this town. Naruto approached the man and Gato began to back off, saying, Gato, the man responsible for hiring people to take out Araki Tenjin a couple of years back. Sweating, Gato asked, who is this boy? I covered my tracks for years. There must have been a conversation. Naruto stopped short in front of the man, hands by his side, and continued his analysis of him, saying, I finally found out who hired Zabuza and Haku for that assassination. You're a slippery worm, you know that? You killed so many people just to cover your own trail. Gato knew he was about to be attacked by the boy. He had no intention of dying today. Hell no, he wasn't going to die to some young punk. He had come this far. He exclaimed, kill the boy and I'll pay you guys tripled. To his armies. He grinned. He had hoped the boy would escape this one. A collective, yars, reverberated among the men, and they started to charge. As he approached Naruto, Kakashi said, looks like you need some help. Naruto gave a headshake. Kakashi was about to protest but said nothing. Just stay back. He reasoned that if things got out of control, he could always step in. Naruto strolled in the direction of the army. To everyone's surprise, Naruto disappeared like a ghost in mist as the thugs approached him and aimed their weapons at him. It wasn't a Bushin that Naruto used, so Kakashi searched the area for the boy. It was all speed. Abruptly, blood spurted into the air, and bodies started to fall one by one until nobody remained. With the Tenro by his side, Naruto stood before Gato, beaming maniacally at him. Looking like a beast stalking its prey, Naruto walked slowly up to ask, how does it feel to know that you can't buy your way out of this? Panicked, Gato stumbled over his own feet while attempting to retreat. Slowly, he moved away from the boy. Stop. If you let me live, I'll give you enough money that your grandchildren can live leisurely until they grow old. What else can you offer? Naruto knelt down in front of the man and began to laugh, saying, money is no good to me. I already have enough. Gato started to offer the boy various items, but he stopped when he abruptly lost sensation in his legs. Then, pain erupted in his nerves and began to register in his mind. He was no longer able to feel his legs. When he realized he was missing a pair of legs, his eyes widened. He screamed in agony, his voice bone chilling. As Naruto heard the former crime lord plead for forgiveness, he smiled at him. The man's legs were brutally severed by Naruto, causing everyone else to recoil. Kakashi even averted his gaze. Naruto got back to his feet. I made a promise to someone in this village, to undo the very things that you have done. You're a corrupted pig who uses people and then discards them. It is people like you that I despise. People that have no respect for others. Say hello to his father for me in the afterlife. With a single swipe, Gatu's head fell from his corpse. Sakura felt nauseous and wanted to throw up after seeing everything with her own eyes. She witnessed Naruto, who was her age, murdering people with ease. As he passed her, she turned away from him. After carrying Gatu's head back, Naruto gave it to Kakashi, who turned it into a scroll. Are you going to be okay, Naruto? With a nod, Naruto executed the well-known hand seals. The only thing Naruto saw before going black was a group of armed villagers approaching the bridge. Biju Haoshutsu, Heikai. Naruto fell to the ground. Kakashi approached his fallen pupils. One was assumed to be unconscious with a silly smile on his face, and the other was assumed to be dead. He let out a sigh. For this, the Hokage will most likely have his head. Haku approached Uchiha, who had fallen. Kakashi gave him a wary glance. Haku looked at him comfortingly. Haku turned to face Sasuke, who was lying on the ground with needles running through his body, and said, Don't worry, Kakashi-san. I'm here to help. Haku pulled the needles between his shoulders after examining each one. Sasuke jolted to his feet, gasping for breath before he fell back down. When Kakashi saw Sasuke reviving, he couldn't help but sigh in relief. I believed you knew me better, Naruto, Haku said, echoing in his mind. That's what he intended to convey to Naruto. When he put Zabuza in a death-like trance, I should have anticipated it. Sakura, whose tears of sorrow and loss had been replaced by tears of joy, rushed to embrace the boy who had been brought back to life. "Oh Sasuke-kun, I thought I lost you." Slowly opening his eyes, Sasuke saw Sakura embracing him. He glared at her feebly. "Sakura, where's Naruto?" Sakura raised her gaze to meet his. Sasuke tried to push her away from him, but his body was too weak. "Oh Sasuke-kun, why do you care about someone like that? He's nothing compared to you." Sasuke looked to see where the voice was coming from and said, "Don't stress yourself too much, Uchiha-san." He attempted to grab his weapon when he saw Haku. What Sasuke was searching for was visible to Haku. He assured the boy, "Don't worry, we're not your enemy anymore." Over there, as people were being introduced, Tazuna noticed his grandson wearing a homemade battlesuit. He rushed toward the boy. "What are you doing here?" When Inari saw his grandfather, he dropped his crossbow and gave him a hug, saying, "Ouiji-san, you're okay." Inari's eyes were watery as he looked around the bridge, which was filled with dead bodies. Tazuna grinned. Tazuna and Inari approached him and said, "Yes, Naruto saved us all. Who would have believed it?" Inari noticed their savior peacefully dozing on the ground. "I believed in him." Tazuna looked at him strangely. "Why? Didn't he threaten to kill you?" He reasoned that the boy must have lost his mind. Inari gave a headshake. "Yes, but he saved me and Kasen from Gatu's thugs before he came rushing over here." "Really now?" Kakashi asked the boy as he approached him. Everyone had a different opinion of Naruto after Inari told them about how he handled Gatu's thugs by himself. While some started to view the boy differently, others started to respect him. However, Sasuke was deep in contemplation. Sakura slowly raised Sasuke, allowing him to use her as support, feeling relieved that he was still alive. "One of these days, Naruto, I will surpass you and it will be one step closer to him." Everyone turned to face the bridge. This was a moment that would never be forgotten. After 2 days, Naruto opened his eyes slowly. Every part of his body ached as he slowly sat up. After glancing around the room, he concluded that he was once again in Tazuna's home. He laughed to himself as he remembered his first visit to this room. He was determined not to repeat that error. He approached the window slowly and sat on the edge, simply taking in the scenery. His tranquility was abruptly broken when Kakashi entered the room. Once more, Kakashi's Hite.8 was placed over his left eye. Kakashi entered the room and shut the door after saying, "Oh Naruto, you're awake. So how are you feeling?" Naruto gave a shrug. "As good as I can be, I guess." Kakashi examined the boy. He had wounds all over his body and was depleted of chakras. This was Naruto, the boy who held the Kyuubi no Yoko, the king of all demons, but he should have been out for at least a week. He jolted out of his reverie when Naruto said, "I know you're here for something more than to check up on me, Kakashi. Sensei." Kakashi indicated Naruto's abdomen. "Yes, I wanted to know if the seal is weakening." Naruto responded sarcastically, "We wouldn't want that to happen now, would we?" "Naruto." Kakashi repeatedly shook his head. The boy was gradually changing, but his wounds would not go away until time passed. "What was that technique that you used earlier, Naruto?" Naruto gave the man a long look before responding. "It was something that Arrow Sennin came up with." Rewind. "Nay, Arrow Sennin." Naruto collapsed to the ground, worn out from the battle of the day. Jiraiya gave his apprentice a head smack. "Baka. I told you not to call me that. So what is it?" Naruto rubbed his head after giving his sensei a fierce look. "How do I stop myself from drawing on the fox's chakra?" Jiraiya considered this. The chakra could be stopped in a number of ways, so why would Naruto want to seal it off? "Why do you want to do that, Naruto?" "The extra chakra makes you stronger and better than most people." Naruto let out a sigh. "They don't see me as a person. They see me as Kyuubi reborn, like a ticking time bomb who's just waiting to explode. If I'm going to make people change on how they look at me, it will be done my way, not with any help from the fox. I won't let the villagers get the satisfaction of knowing that I had help from the fox. It would give them more of a reason to beat me." Jiraiya gave a head nod. This boy had strength. He's far stronger than the fourth person he's ever known. It makes sense that they were father and son. Jiraiya stood proudly until Naruto tripped him by putting his legs between Jiraiya's. "Okay, Naruto, let's prove them wrong. I have been working on a seal that would hinder the fox's chakra, but it won't completely stop it. The fourth was a great seal master, after myself of course." Naruto looked at him naively. "Please continue on." Jiraiya stood back up and gave Naruto a few silent threats before going on. He used the Shiki Fujin to seal away the fox, but it was the later seals that actually kept the fox inside of you. The Shisho Fuin and the Hake no Fuin Shiki was placed on your stomach because that is where the fox resides. The seal was designed to slowly merge both of your chakras together until the fox disappears. Now my seal is a bit different. It won't be placed on top of that, it will be placed on your chest. What this seal will do to you is that it will place binds on your chakra system. You already have a huge amount of chakra at your disposal, but this seal will limit you on how much chakra you have access to. Level 1 would be 25%, Level 2 will be 50%, Level 3 will be 75%, while Level 4 will be 100%. There's a side effect to this though. If you open all of these at once, there is a chance that you will explode from the inside. Naruto shouted, "What?" into Jiraiya's ear. Jiraiya rubbed Naruto's ear after tossing him away. Before Jiraiya's senses returned to normal, he was momentarily deaf. "My ears are bleeding, damn Gaki." Think about it this way, your chakra reserves is like a dam of water. It supplies your body with a constant flow of chakra, but if that dam breaks, then it would be rushing out like a flood. Your body can't take that much chakra at once. Slowly, Naruto nodded his head. "Okay, I get it. Open all the seals at once equals bad, I got it." Jiraiya gave his temples a rub. "If you allow time to pass between opening gates, then you should be fine. Do you really want this seal?" Naruto gave a head nod. "It means that I can do more training." Jiraiya chuckled. "You'll need all the training you can get if you want to beat me, Gaki." Jiraiya received a fist pump from Naruto. "Shut up, Arrow. Sennin, just put the seal on me already." For a minute, Jiraiya placed his hand on his chin. Let's call it the Great Jiraiya Seal. Once more, Naruto tripped his sensei. "No, let's call it Biju Haoshutsu." Jiraiya gave it a minute's thought. Demon Release. Not a bad name. It can frighten people when you scream it, especially with your voice. Okay, we're going to call it Biju Haoshutsu. End of flashback. Behind his mask, Kakashi grinned and said, "I see, so that's what the technique does. What an ingenious technique." He was pleased with Naruto's progress. As they turned to face the new voices, they said, "That was some fight you gave me, Gaki. I'm impressed." Zabuza and Haku entered the room. Waving, Zabuza said, "Yo brat, how are you feeling?" Naruto gave a shrug. Naruto stretched and turned his arms, saying, "As good as I can be. Where are you guys going to go now?" Zabuza gestured to Kakashi with his hands. Naruto turned to face his fellow ninja. Kakashi gave his head a back rub. "I kind of offered them a place in the village." Naruto burst out laughing. "You'll definitely set those idiots we call villagers straight, Zabuza. How are you going to bring this up with the Hokage Kakashi, sensei?" Kakashi rubbed his head once more. "I was hoping you would do it." Naruto considered shouting back, but changed his mind. He put out his hand to seal the deal, saying, "Okay, but I expect you to pay for my ramen bill when we get back." Kakashi gave him a handshake. He reasoned that he had little to lose because Naruto couldn't eat that much. Haku and Zabuza both started laughing. Zabuza patted Kakashi on the shoulder with his hand. Kakashi wondered what the man was talking about when he said, "You have no clue what you just gotten yourself involved with." Haku gave him a pat on the arm as well. "Naruto ran up a bill of about 50,000 yen when we were still training together." Kakashi's mouth fell open. In just 2 months, he made roughly 50,000 yen. He began to cry to himself. Naruto caught Zabuza's attention. Naruto nodded his head and said, "We'll duel again, but this time, we won't have to go that far." Having his other sensei back was wonderful. Haku nodded his head and walked out of the room, saying, "I understand now, Naruto." Haku bumped into Inari as he was leaving, and Inari ran directly into Haku before bouncing back. Laughing, Haku assisted the boy in standing up. Inari said, "Naruto, Nichin," and rushed to embrace his new hero. Naruto smiled back at him. "So how are you doing, Inari?" Inari stepped back and let go of the hug. "I've been great. Grandfather says that the bridge should be done today." Naruto turned his gaze to the window. He caught a glimpse of the bridge. "It looks great, Inari. Your grandfather is a great bridge builder." After giving a nod, Inari recalled something. Inari hurried to find his mother and said, "Kasen is making dinner and was wondering if you were up or not. I have to tell her to make a lot." Given that they hadn't come to see him, Naruto pondered where the other two were. "So how's the other two?" Kakashi indicated the room beyond. "Sasuke's recovering slowly and Sakura's watching over him like a hawk." Zabuza mimicked a shark by making jaw biting motions and saying, "Hawk nothing. She's like a shark stalking her prey. Naruto chuckled. The men slowly left the room for the final meal they would get from Tsunami, saying, "Same old idiots. Well, let's go down for some dinner." The following day Team 7 halted and turned around as they approached the bridge's end. Every villager was present to bid them farewell. Inari shouted to his new hero, "Come back and visit soon Naruto, Nichin." With a simple wave in return, Naruto started to leave. When the others noticed Naruto leaving, they started to follow suit, leaving one by one and waving goodbye. Tazuna turned around and asked the villagers, "So what should we name this bridge?" For a minute they pondered among themselves. Tazuna grinned. "How about the Great Ta?" Inari yelled, "The Great Naruto Bridge," and cut his grandfather off. His eyes were wide open as he gazed at his grandson. What? The name was soon whispered among the villagers. They quickly started chanting the chosen name. Tazuna sighed in defeat and glared at his grandson. "There, it's decided. We're calling it the Great Naruto Bridge," he said. He turned his gaze to the sky. "You mean the Great Naruto Bridge? It's a memorable name." In the woods Naruto continued walking alongside Zabuza and Hiku, reminiscing about their years apart. Behind them, Kakashi was walking while reading the well-known orange color book and occasionally laughing. Behind Kakashi, Sakura and Sasuke were strolling while silently chatting among themselves. Sasuke-kun, do you think we can trust Zabuza and Hiku? Sasuke turned his attention to the two missing nins. "Yeah, I think we can. They haven't done anything lately, but keep your guard up." Sakura gave a head nod. "What about Naruto then?" Sasuke tightened his jaw. At this point, Naruto is seen as an enigma. We don't know much about his life except that he's stronger than your average genin. We have to be careful around him as well. Kakashi let out a sigh to himself. He listened to the whole discussion. Youngsters nowadays. They are unwilling to look beneath the surface. We are partially to blame, but what is done. Then Sakura recalled a discussion she had with her mother. "Hey Sasuke-kun, I remembered something my mom told me. When I told her who was on my team, she started freaking out when I mentioned Naruto's name. She told me to stay away from that freak." Kakashi's eyes narrowed. Perhaps it was time to see how the Harunos were doing. Sasuke pondered this for a moment. "We don't know much about him, so let's keep our distance." She gave a head nod. She witnessed Naruto's unadulterated power. On the battlefield, he came across as nearly inhuman. The memory of that moment still makes her shudder. Kakashi didn't give those two any more thought. He had heard enough. He gave Naruto a look. He was chatting to the other two with a casual smile. He made the decision to participate in the discussion. "So Zabuza, what do you plan on doing when you get instated as a Konoha.nin?" Zabuza smiled. He put Naruto in a headlock and said, "That's easy, I'm going to beat this Gaki down until he begs for mercy." Unexpectedly, Naruto started to struggle. He attempted to throw Zabuza off him, but Zabuza was struggling and Naruto was unable to get a hold of him. "Get off me, old man." "All right, then. You requested it." Naruto leapt to his feet, wrapped his arms around Zabuza's neck, and dragged him to the ground. Naruto vanished as the two struck the ground, and Zabuza appeared taken aback. "What the hell? When did you even switch out with me?" Everyone appeared taken aback. Naruto didn't even employ hand seals in front of them. Haku appeared beside Naruto. Zabuza snarled and chased after the boy, saying, "TCH, you're no match for me." While insulting one another, the two ran all the way back to Konoha. From large, hidden villages to smaller, less developed ones, there are many different types of villages in the world, but they all have one thing in common. They create teams that will be advantageous to the entire village. The village's reputation will improve with a stronger team. Konoha has produced a number of distinctive teams over the years, all of which have achieved remarkable success. The Ino, Shika, Show Team, the legendary Sanins, and numerous others. Team 7, who are regarded as the next generation of prodigies and each member brings their unique talent to the team, is the target of many people's attention this year. One of the most well-known figures in ninja history, Hitaki Kakashi, better known as Copy Ninja Kakashi, served as their leader. Along with a group of genin who had just graduated from the academy, he ventured deep into the mist. However, upon their return, they had accomplished more than just a mission. They returned with invaluable experience that neither the Nether Scrolls nor the classroom could impart. In order to realize their full potential, each ninja learns and develops via experience. That day, Team 7 members all gained something. The coveted Sharingan-I, Sasuke Uchiha's rite of passage into manhood, was given to the last living member of the notorious Uchiha clan. The renowned Kekkei Genkai is said to have been able to replicate numerous jutsus with a single look. In the future, the user would be able to remember and imitate those precise seals. During his intense conflict with Haku, the missing nin, the Sharingan was awakened. Sakura Hirano discovered firsthand that being a ninja is not as glamorous and enjoyable as she had thought. Her understanding of ninjas' lives has evolved as a result of what she saw that day. She actually learned quite different things from her textbooks and from a real battle. Children are protected from the harshness of reality by books, but you only fully encounter life's hardships when you leave those books at home. She learned a valuable lesson from this experience. Not everything in this world is perfect. The Denku clan's heir, Naruto Uzumaki, had discovered that bonds weren't always a bad thing. A bond is comparable to a friendship. They exist to support an individual's development and maturation. He still doesn't understand why people maintain bonds, but he will continue to train until he gains the strength to fulfill his aspirations of becoming Hokage. Only a few days had passed since their first significant conflict, and they were all feeling very proud of themselves. Kakashi admired his students as he looked up from his book. He was extremely proud of them, and their actions during this mission demonstrated that he had made the right decision in passing this team. They all possessed undeveloped potential that could one day turn them into legends. Two boys named Naruto and Sasuke each have a distinct method of establishing their worth to others. Ninjas all over the world were drawn to the two boys. Compared to the other rookie genins, everyone feels as though they have a higher destiny calling. There was a sense in Kakashi's bones that they would one day make him proud. Sakura exhaled joyfully as they arrived at Konoha's gates, and her face lit up with a broad smile. She turned to face him, saying, "We're finally home. Sasuke-kun." She smiled in front of Sasuke's face as he looked up. He gave a little grunt. They all chuckled, knowing that he was also happy to be back. Kakashi approached the gate and motioned for the on-duty guard to perform his duties. When he failed to recognize the two new members of the team, the guard paused his inspection of the group to confirm that they were Konoha ninjas and not a missing nin. The guard gave the two newcomers a wary glance and said, "Wait a minute, Kakashi-san. I don't recognize the other two. I can't let them pass without having them go through inspection. One can never fail to defend Konoha, even though it was a time of peace." Kakashi approached the booth and spoke to the guard in a whisper. The guard nodded his head after his face went white. Kakashi took a step back and smiled beneath his mask. "So you see, they're special guests of mine. It won't be a problem for them to enter, right?" The guard gave a quick shake of his head. Kakashi said, "It's okay, you guys can enter." He thanked them and turned to return to the group. Sakura gave him a fierce look. "What did you say to the man, Kakashi, sensei?" Kakashi gave his head a back rub. He wasn't going to let his team know what he did because they weren't old enough to understand how to properly negotiate. "I just asked him nicely to let us through." Kakashi turned around and covered Naruto's mouth instantly. "You made several threats to that man, which included something about his house, his job, and his bee." Everyone was staring at him with suspicion when he turned around again. "Ma Naruto, you shouldn't be telling lies." He hurriedly led the way, hoping that the topic would be dropped, and said, "Anyway, we can enter now." He likely overheard his small threat because he forgot that Naruto had enhanced hearing. Zabuza whistled a little as they made their way deeper into the village. He slapped Naruto on the back, making the boy stumble a little. "Hey Gaki, you got a good thing going on here," he said. Zabuza gazed around, admiring the landscape, which was nothing in comparison to his former village. Naruto gave the man a growl. He reached for his weapon pouch, itching. When Haku saw Naruto moving closer to the pouch, he moved swiftly to block the path. Being well aware of the mounting tension between the two, he said, "Zabuza-san, I don't think you should do that to Naruto." Before taking his hand back from the pouch, Naruto subtly suggested, "You should listen to Haku, old man, before you get another beating." Zabuza reappeared in front of Naruto and grabbed him by the shirt, asking, "What was that, Gaki?" He looked Naruto in the eye, his pride already bruised from the previous battle, and said, "I dare you to repeat that." The tension between the two of them was evident to everyone. Zabuza was forced to lower the boy after Kakashi intervened and placed his hand on his wrist. He looked at Zabuza, his eyes demonstrating his actions, and said, "You're still my responsibility. Kill each other after we see the Hokage." Zabuza put Naruto down and stretched, as if nothing had happened, saying, "Tch. Lucky Gaki. You're not worth my time anyway." Making sure his shirt wasn't ripped in any way, Naruto dusted himself. "Keep telling yourself that. The results will always be the same." "Why you?" Zabuza turned back around, and Kakashi sighed. He didn't want to watch two kids. He just wanted to read his book. His words were clear and loud. Enough. Now we are going to see the Hokage. Whether you agree with me or not, I don't care. Sasuke, Sakura, and Haku began to turn away from the man they considered to be their sensei. They sensed the murderous intent seeping out. In fact, they pitied the other two. Zabuza and Naruto sensed the immense release of the desire to kill. Not wanting to annoy the man anymore, they both nodded their heads and gradually stopped arguing. Kakashi began to walk ahead, followed by Naruto and Zabuza, saying, "Great, now let's move out." With a sigh, Haku followed. Sakura stood there, inquiring as to whether they should follow suit. "What are we supposed to do, Sasuke-kun?" Sasuke considered their options for a long time. Sakura was left to think for herself as Sasuke began to leave, saying, "I think it's best that we steer clear of them for a while. Besides, they don't need all of us to do a report, so I think it's best that we just go home." "Hey Sasuke-kun." Sakura blushed to herself, obviously thinking of herself and her beloved Sasuke-kun in a romantic way. Searching for the right words, she fumbled with her fingers. "I was wondering if you would like to have dinner with me?" As she waited for her response, she glanced at the floor. She looked up when she didn't hear a response. She searched for the boy of her dreams, but he was nowhere to be found. "Sasuke-kun?" she asked. Sakura began to wander around, looking for her prize, saying, "Oh, are you playing hide and seek with me? That's so cute." Yes, she should take some time to reorganize her priorities. Tower of Hokage. In the end, Kakashi pulled them both directly to the tower. He has never felt so ashamed in his life. All the way, his fellow ninjas were pointing and giggling at him. While being dragged along, Naruto and Zabuza were too preoccupied with arguing with one another to notice the embarrassment. Haku was sensible enough to follow them by a few feet, and his other two pupils just so happened to vanish. It was simply not his day, he sighed. That day, the secretary also happened to have a camera. His humiliation appeared to have been influenced by fate. Was this retaliation for his repeated tardiness? He sobbed to himself. As the secretary took pictures of the event, likely for future use as blackmail, he found himself standing in front of the door with two individuals who were still arguing. Kakashi thought, this must be what it feels like to be at rock bottom. He had better get this over with, he sighed. He dragged the other two with him as he pushed open the doors and entered. Sarutobi raised his head from his papers. A young boy was standing next to the older man, and he saw a frustrated Kakashi standing there, separating Naruto and another man from what appeared to be an argument that was about to degenerate into a fight. He cleared his throat. As Kakashi shook his head, he laughed to himself. Had a fun mission, Kakashi? Decided to pick up two hikers as well? Fun? No completed mission. Yes. Pick up two strangers? Yes. He called out to Zabuza and Haku to come forward with a hand gesture. May I present to you Zabuza Momochi and Haku, both missing. Nins from the mist. Sarutobi took his time examining the two individuals, gradually identifying them from the bingo books. Haku was rated as a level S missing. Nin, while Zabuza Momochi, also called the Demon of the Mist, was rated as a level A missing. Nin. May I ask why they're here? Kakashi burst out laughing. Kakashi pushed Naruto in front of him and took a step back, saying, "That's a funny story, Hokage-sama, but I believe Naruto here would like to take over." Kakashi pretended that nothing was wrong while Naruto glared at him. Sarutobi, relieved to be free of paperwork, dropped his pen and said, "Well Naruto, I'm waiting." Perhaps he would feel better after hearing this story. His Hokage was waiting for the story with patience when Naruto stood in front of him. Naruto skipped the last section because he didn't want to go through it. Ouija-san, I just want to tell you that you're doing a great job running the village and I want you to instate these two as Konoha ninjas. He waited for the response while standing in front of the desk. Whether the old man allowed them to be ninjas or not was now up to him. No matter what, they were destined to be ninjas. Let's just say that the elderly man will receive a huge surprise later if they didn't. Naruto grinned. That was a good idea. If he had to do this the other way, it might not be a bad idea. Sarutobi noticed the smirk on the boy's face as he looked at him. After giving it some thought, he decided to send two strong ninjas to serve Konoha, and Naruto was improving his social skills. This was a good idea. He began searching through his drawers for the necessary documents and said, "Okay Naruto, I'll instate them as Konoha ninjas. Oh by the way, there's a bonus for the one who brought these two to our side, so who was it?" Naruto returned his focus to the elderly man and said, "It was MMFP. Kakashi materialized before Naruto, his mouth shut. I'm sorry, Naruto, but you conned me out of that deal, and I need this money to pay for it and purchase the recently released Icha Icha Paradise. Tropical Island Pleasure. It was I Hokage, Sama. Naruto began to struggle against Kakashi's hold, but he was unable to break free. Sarutobi gave the Jonin a wary glance. Why are you covering Naruto's mouth, Kakashi? Kakashi gave a little chuckle. You know kids these days, they say the darnest thing. Naruto was standing by the wall when everyone turned around, asking, being late is one thing but being a liar as well. When they turned around, they saw Naruto struggling and Kakashi's arm vanish. The question on everyone's minds was, when did the boy make a bushin? Naruto lowered his shoulders in defeat as Sarutobi sighed, enough. Both of you can get the bonus, now please leave. I have to file the necessary paperwork. Naruto, show them around the village please. He left the room slowly, followed by Zabuza and Haku. Kakashi remained behind, wondering what the Hokage would want from him. Kakashi, can I speak with you for a minute? He asked. So how did Naruto really persuaded them to come over? Knowing that he had been caught red-handed, Kakashi laughed a little. He coughed a little before responding to the query. Well, when we first encountered Zabuza, he was a missing nin hired by Gadu to take care of our client, but it turns out that Naruto knew Zabuza from back then. Words got flying and those two fought it out. Long story short, Naruto beat Zabuza back into his old self, and this is where we are now. Sarutobi sat back and thought, I see, there was a lot to consider. Although he had a gut feeling that Naruto could care for himself, it was shocking to learn that Naruto is unaware of his unique talent, the capacity to convert adversaries into allies. It was a unique trait shared by all previous Hokage. My boy Naruto, you never cease to amaze me. For a brief moment, Kakashi noticed his Hokage's eyes sparkle before they vanished. Is there anything else, Hokage? Sama? The Hokage gave a head nod. Do you think your team is ready for the upcoming Chunin exams? After giving it some thought, Kakashi responded. Without a doubt, sir. They are ready and should be able to pass the exam. The Hokage took a close look at the Chunin's features. Allowing a new group of Genins to complete this was a significant responsibility. It wouldn't look good for the village if they died, and they could have died doing this. Then give them these papers and you know what to do. Kakashi gave a head nod. I have faith in them, Hokage. Sama, and high expectations for them as well. Sarutobi grinned. So do I now go find them. In a plume of green leaves and white smoke, Kakashi bowed and vanished. Beyond the tower with his back to the wall, Haku questioned, so what do we do now, Naruto? The three of them stood outside the tower, unsure of their next course of action. Naruto considered his plans for the day. Well, first I have some businesses to attend to, like finding out where my other teammates are, and then, my afternoon is free, I guess. Ha! Snorted Zabuza. Zabuza remembered, those weaklings are your teammates. While Haku gave the other boy his behind, the girl with the pink hair did nothing. He erupted in laughter, unable to contain it. Naruto let out a sigh. Yes, they may be weak, Haku said, and useless. Naruto's head dropped. Yes, and useless, Haku added, and pathetic. Naruto's eyes narrowed. One of the first things he learned while on this team was, yes, and pathetic, but nevertheless, they are my teammates. We don't abandon each other. Never abandon a teammate. Zabuza kept giggling at Naruto's pricey outfit. Haku couldn't resist grinning. Naruto muttered to himself, I don't have time for this. He grinned and made his favorite hand seals. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Zabuza halted his laughter and pondered the situation. All he knew was that he was laughing uncontrollably when he noticed a clone appear out of nowhere. Naruto gestured to his clone and instructed it, saying, listen, my clone here is just the same thing as me and he'll show you around. I'll meet up with you guys later. With a nod, the Naruto clone left with Haku and Zabuza. Naruto wondered where his team was as he watched his current company leave. He pondered, well, where would I be if I were Sasuke? Naruto nodded at his reasoning before scuttling off toward their regular training grounds. I know, I would be at the training grounds training, and if I know Sakura, she would have her nose trained on his scent like a bloodhound, so wherever he goes, she goes. In other parts of Konoha, as he lowered his head, Sasuke wondered how Sakura had found him. He was certain that he concealed his tracks. He thought it would be simple to lose her in the marketplace, but she seems to have some sort of tracking jutsu. A familiar voice soon broke through his thoughts. Never thought you would be here, Sasuke. I thought you would be in the training field or something. When the Uchiha looked around, he saw his final teammate. What do you want, Dobi? Naruto approached him slowly. Naruto looked around, but something was missing. And to think I spent my time to look for you. Where's your fangirl? Sasuke trembled. I finally managed to lose her. Sasuke. Kun. The boys exclaimed as they turned around and saw Sakura sprinting in their direction. You were saying? Naruto's expression was one of surprise. Damn, she would make an excellent bloodhound. She wasn't even exhausted when she finally caught up to the other members of her group. Naruto made a note of that for later use. Sakura squealed even louder, delighted to have won her prize, and asked, Sasuke. Kun, how did you know I love playing hide and seek? Sasuke arched an eyebrow. She must be joking with me. Then Sakura caught sight of Naruto. Oh hi Naruto. Her tone changed, and Naruto noticed it. He retorted icily, hello to you too bloodhound. Sakura responded without noticing. With a sigh, Naruto kicked the wall. Both Sakura and Sasuke gave Naruto a startled look. Why did you do that? Naruto did not respond to them. He kept kicking the wall until a young Konohamaru was revealed when a camouflage sheet toppled over. Oh, I see that you're worthy to be my rival Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto fixed the young boy with his gaze. What was he doing here? He wondered. What are you doing here, shrimp? Konohamaru stepped back and turned to face his new adversary. Konohamaru threw his fist up at Naruto and declared, you and I are going to fight for the title of Hokage. Sakura squatted down and laughed. Naruto snarled at her for her remark, saying, that one over there is certainly not going to be Hokage, little boy, but you might make it. He was determined to show everyone that he would reach Hokage. Sakura caught Konohamaru's attention. Gramps said that someone named Naruto Uzumaki will one day take the title away from him, and if I want it sooner, I would have to be like that person. Sasuke sensed his gaze moving in Naruto's direction. It was Naruto that made him feel something. Was he experiencing jealousy? He dismissed that idea with haste. He couldn't help but wonder why a dead last was receiving so much attention. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he tried to identify that face. Konohamaru Sarutobi? The young boy gave a head nod. He kicked the dirt and ran around in the next corner, leaving the Genins alone. Yes, and you'll all one day respect me as the next Hokage, he exclaimed. Naruto smirked and stood up straight. So that brat believes he can get to Hokage before me? He has another thing coming. He was about to turn to leave when a voice he recognized began shouting something. He heard a few more voices as he approached. Naruto moved away from the corner and noticed Konohamaru trembling. The older boy, wearing black and wearing makeup, was frightening Konohamaru. Hey brat, that hurts, Naruto said. Sasuke and Sakura arrived to observe the situation. Her words, hey that's no way to treat a little boy, pushed Sasuke to take action. Sasuke pondered how he got himself into this predicament as he stood there. Looking at the girl behind him, the older boy said, Kankuro, stop making a scene and let's just go. He smirked as he took Konohamaru by the shirt and said, but he started it. Kankuro froze, powerless to act, and said, he has to pay for his actions. No part of his body was reacting to his actions, and he was unable to feel any of it. You will let the boy go now. Kankuro stood motionless, feeling powerless and unable to move. He gazed at the boy who was coming toward him, his blonde hair disheveled and his face marked with odd whiskers. He swallowed. This child was exuding a strong desire to kill. Naruto approached the boy that the girl had previously referred to as Kankuro. He stood waiting for Kankuro to move, looking him in the eye and saying, I hate to repeat myself. As he observed the exchange between Naruto and the individual known as Kankuro, Konohamaru ceased to struggle. Naruto's presence gave him a sense of relief that things would improve. Perhaps he should trust him if his grandfather did. Kankuro discovered that he and this odd boy were alone in the pitch black depths. Even though he could smell blood coming from the boy, there was something familiar about him that warned him of his danger. The boy was staring at him, and he couldn't help but feel trapped. When Kankuro sensed another entity entering his mind, the illusion disintegrated. A dark, enigmatic voice calmly uttered, Kankuro, you are bringing shame to our village. If you continue this, I will kill you myself. When Kankuro jolted out of his reverie, he discovered that his hand was still in the same spot but that the boy was gone. He noticed Naruto's sly expression. Gaara. Stop your whining and move. A shadowy figure emerged next to Naruto. Naruto's gaze expanded. His senses became acutely aware. The boy somehow slipped up beside him without him even sensing him. When he looked at him closely, he noticed that the boy's eyes were remarkably familiar. Those eyes feel a lot like each other. To Naruto's surprise, he saw a red haired boy with a large gourd on his back and a strange kanji tattooed on his head. The weight of the gourd itself must have exceeded 100 pounds. "What's your name?" the boy grimly inquired. Naruto continued to look at the boy without responding. "If you want to know my name, you first have to give me your name." Kankuro took a step back to stand beside the girl. "Tamari, is this guy brave or stupid?" With interest, the girl observed the two boys' interactions. Tamari glanced at the blonde and said, "Gaara's interested in this guy though." She had to acknowledge that he had a mysterious aura about him and wasn't particularly ugly. Gaara gave Naruto a quick glance before responding. "Sabaku no Gaara." Naruto grinned. "Naruto Uzumaki." After noting his name, Gaara turned around. "Tamari, Kankuro, we're leaving." The two sprinted after the boy right away, leaving everyone perplexed as to their purpose. Sakura, who was still hiding behind Sasuke, said, "Wait, why are you here?" Gaara ignored her question and carried on walking. Tamari paused and gave her a look. "Are you stupid or something?" Sakura's cheeks flushed. This girl was attempting to make her appear unflattering to her Sasuke-kun. "No, we're just genin and we're curious." Tamari let out a sigh. "Didn't you know that your village was selected this year to hold the upcoming Chunin exams?" Sakura gave a headshake. She had never seen this before. With a wave of her hand, Tamari left, intending to rejoin her team. Sasuke grinned. His blood was pounding at the prospect of facing and defeating more formidable foes. "You mean the Chunin exams? I'm eager." As he wondered about the boy, Naruto remained silent. He had a strangely familiar appearance. He chose to ignore that thought as he returned his focus to the current problem. Sakura and Sasuke nodded their heads and headed in the direction of some locations they believed their sensei might be. "Let's go find Kakashi Sensei and ask him about this Chunin exam." Naruto turned around to see how Konohamaru was doing before he followed them. The young boy nodded his head and asked, "Are you okay, Konohamaru?" Naruto grinned. Naruto ruffled the boy's hair and said, "That's great. I have to go now, but remember, there are no shortcuts to becoming Hokage. If you want that title, you'll have to beat me to it." After giving him a long look, Konohamaru yelled, "Just wait and see Naruto. Nissan, I'll do it. Just watch me," before turning around and running to where he would train. After half an hour, Sakura sighed, "I give up, Kakashi Sensei is impossible to find." They searched every place, including the bookstore, the dango shop, and even the Hokage Tower, but the man was nowhere to be found. Despite his best efforts, Naruto was unable to locate his chakra signature. Sakura observed the water flowing downstream while leaning against the railings. The group was taking a break at the bridge after deciding to call it quits. The group heard a voice they were all too familiar to recognize. "Yo." They looked around and saw the one person they had been searching for the past half hour. "Kakashi Sensei," exclaimed Sakura, "are we glad to see you." Kakashi merely gestured with his hand. He read and kept track of the most recent volume of his favorite book during his final hour at the bookstore. Straight to the point, Sakura questioned, "What's this about the Chunin exams?" Kakashi chuckled. "Get impatient." Sasuke tapped his foot and said, "Straight to the point as always." The boy's action amused Kakashi. Later on, he would have to see how patient the boy was. The Chunin exams happens twice a year. It is a chance for genins who pass the exam to achieve the ranks of Chunin. Kakashi arched an eyebrow at Sasuke and said, "We want to enter this year." His eyes betrayed his usual brooding demeanor. They displayed enthusiasm and the rush of battle. Kakashi rubbed his chin, feigning uncertainty as he asked, "Are you guys ready for it though?" Since too much praise can breed overconfidence, which ultimately leads to a ninja's downfall, he didn't want to let them know they were ready. The new voice caught Kakashi's attention. "Please spare us with your make-believe speech. Our actions from our past mission shows that we're capable of entering." Kakashi noticed Naruto peacefully gazing at the crystal clear river while he leaned across the rail. Kakashi blinked. Naruto briefly appeared to be a splitting image of the fourth. The genins were left to make their own decisions after Kakashi's final words. "Ma Naruto, you have to lighten up. I have here 3 paper slips for you guys. Each one is a ticket to enter the exams. Follow the instructions and good luck." Vanished in his signature smoke. After giving his ticket a quick glance, Naruto tucked it into his pocket. While Sasuke merely skimmed it, searching for the key information, Sakura took her time reading hers. "It says on the ticket that we have to report to room 304 at 9 a.m. tomorrow." Naruto calmly remarked, "I'm glad you can read the instructions." He left the group and began to walk away. Sakura yelled, "Where are you going, Naruto? but Naruto just kept walking. Naruto paused, grinning. Following his statement, I got other things to do besides babysitting you guys. Naruto vanished in a cloud of smoke, leaving his teammates in his wake. Sakura snarled. She shook her fist in the air, saying, "What, come back here and say that again." Instead, she noticed that Sasuke was also heading out when she turned around. Wait, Sasuke-kun, where are you going? Sasuke continued on, following Naruto's lead. Sakura sighed, I have things to do. I'll see you tomorrow. Perhaps she ought to heed her teammates' counsel and get ready for tomorrow. That evening Naruto had to wait for the information to rush back to him after his Kage Bushin finally ran out of chakra and vanished. As he processed the information slowly, he felt his mind tighten. With a sigh, Naruto opened his apartment door. Thanks to Naruto's clone, Haku and Zabuza were able to find an apartment a block away and have seen the entire village. Naruto was exhausted from the training he had done and everything that had transpired that day. He intended to retire and rest in preparation for the test tomorrow. He felt free again, and as soon as his head touched the pillow, he fell asleep. The wooden post was battered and broken, and Sasuke gazed at it. The wooden post had absorbed his blows 355 times. He burned 10 more wooden posts while practicing his jutsus, but he didn't bother to count them. I will kill you as soon as I reach your level, Itachi. Fatigue struck Sasuke suddenly, turning his legs into rubber and his arms into lead. Sasuke slowly dragged his aching and bruised body into bed, letting his exhaustion take over and his subconscious enter the dream world so he could get a good night's sleep. I might have overdone it tonight. Sitting at her desk, Sakura examined a recent photo they had taken during their most recent mission. She turned to face Sasuke, who was standing there, pondering. Sasuke-kun looks so handsome in that picture. Getting Sasuke to appear in this photo required some pleading, but it was all worthwhile. Rewind. Sakura gazed dreamily at Sasuke and asked, Sasuke-kun, will you take a picture with me? No, Sasuke avoided eye contact with her. He sat there still, meditating. Sakura sulked. She had no intention of giving up. Everything will be overcome by love. In the hopes that he would eventually say yes, she tried again, saying, Are you sure? It'll be a great memory. Sasuke responded once more, raising his voice a little, No. This scene amused Naruto, who leaned against a tree. Kakashi was reading his book next to Naruto. Why don't you go help Sakura, Naruto? Naruto gave a headshake. I want nothing to do with people that doesn't want anything to do with me. It was Kakashi who turned the page. Then how about a bet? If you can make Sasuke take a picture with her, I'll teach you a new jutsu. After giving this some thought, Naruto nodded his head. Deal. Sakura was approached by Naruto, who whispered something in her ear. She nodded hastily. Naruto's voice was clear. Sasuke, are you sure you don't want to take a picture? To find out who it was, Sasuke didn't even open his eyes. No Dobi, I'm not taking any pictures. Get lost, I'm trying to mediate here. Naruto grinned. Then you don't mind that you don't want to take a picture with us? No, are you deaf or something? I already said no. Sasuke made a grave error by continuing to avoid opening his eyes. Naruto called Kakashi over with a wave. Sasuke here doesn't mind, so we're taking this picture. Recalling Naruto's question slowly, Sasuke opened his eyes. He snarled, You played me, Dobi. Naruto gave a shrug. Simple trick for a simple mind. Sakura leapt between Sasuke and Naruto, squealing with joy. With a sigh, Sasuke attempted to shake his arm away from Sakura, but she tightened her hold. Kakashi put his book away and moved between his students. Sakura was standing next to Naruto, who pulled a photographer over. Sakura flashed her most adorable smile. She was going to always cherish this particular photo. Flashback termination. Sakura spent a few more moments gazing at the photo before turning in for the night. She sensed that today would be significant. I hope I won't drag anyone down, she said, recalling the multiple occasions she needed her sensei and teammates to save her. No, she clenched her fist, confident that she would become stronger for her Sasuke-kun. Then perhaps he would perceive her differently. She can't afford to think too much at the moment. She glanced at her bed, which was extending an intriguing invitation that she gladly accepted. The following morning Sakura and Sasuke waited for their already tardy teammate at the front door. Leaning against the door frame, Sasuke observed the people entering. He detected the smell of battle on some of them, which caused his blood to race and his veins to fill with adrenaline. It was impossible for him not to get a little excited. Sakura blushed when she saw Sasuke looking at her. He must be taking notice of me. Sasuke was only aware of the people passing by, and it just so happened that Sakura was on the opposite side. Sakura was looking at him as if he were a piece of meat. It would be an understatement to say that Sasuke was terrified. He could have vowed to himself that Sakura was drooling something from the side of her mouth. Blinking, he saw nothing. Weird girl. From behind him, a voice asked, "Are you going to be looking at her all day, Sasuke?" When Sasuke turned around, his other teammate was there to greet him. "HN. It's about time you got here." Naruto took a step back and shrugged. "I got lost on the road of life." Sakura was startled out of her reverie by the sight of Naruto. "You're late, Naruto," she signaled to him. He gave her a scowl. He smiled menacingly at her and asked, "Are you asking for a broken finger, Pinky?" Sakura retreated, certain that Naruto would have fulfilled that threat. "Well, I'm here now, so let's go." Sasuke took the lead and began to move forward. Sakura and Naruto accompanied him, fairly certain that their manner of walking was creating a commotion. Naruto examined the other dishes. He said to Sasuke in a low voice, "There are some interesting characters here." Sasuke gave a nod. He replied quickly so as not to wake Sakura, "There are only a few characters here that I would love to fight." Team 7 heard a loud slap as they were climbing stairs. They hurried to investigate the disturbance. Two teenagers stood outside the door, preventing anyone from entering, asking, "You plan on taking the Chunin exam like that?" A boy wearing a green jumpsuit was standing in front of the boy with two swords on his back. His companion moved forward. "You guys should quit now." Although he appeared somewhat younger than his partner, he exuded the same vibe. The first one answered, "You guys are just little kids. Come back when you're ready." Beside the child in the green jumpsuit was a girl. After examining his wound, she got to her feet. "Please let us through. We just want to get into room 301. The teenagers merely grinned before abruptly slapping her on the right cheek. Sakura let out a gasp. The Chinese dressed girl was just slapped. People began whispering to one another. Their conversation was overheard by the first boy. He yelled into the crowd, "Hey, listen, we're being nice. The Chunin exam isn't easy. We're helping you out here." Naruto gave a snort. Sasuke grinned. With the words, "You will let me through," he moved through the throng. "And drop this genjutsu. It's a very pathetic attempt. I'm trying to get to the third floor." The other teams were staring at him strangely, as if he had gone crazy or something. "Oh, so you noticed, huh?" The teenagers were taken aback. A child was challenging them, and they had been practicing genjutsu for 10 minutes or so without anyone bothering to check if it was real. The boy grinned while carrying weapons on his back. He turned around and kicked Sasuke, saying, "Hey. Not bad, but all you did was see through it." Sasuke saw the kick coming and narrowed his eyes. He responded with a kick of his own. Sasuke was abruptly stopped from kicking by the child in the green jumpsuit. Sakura blinked. She was shocked by what she saw. He was very quick, more quickly than her eye could track. As he stood there, Naruto examined the child. "He's quick." The child calmed down and let go of both of their legs. The wound on Sasuke's face appeared to have healed as he gazed at the new child. Behind them, a second voice said, "I thought you were the one who told us not to show off." The child bowed his head in the green jumpsuit. Gomen, but you see." As he apologized to his teammate, Sasuke gazed at the child. He sensed the power emanating from the pale white child, and thought, so they were faking it, huh? Naruto gave the new group a quick look. They don't appear to be much. Sakura was approached by the child wearing the green jumpsuit, who grinned. He gave her a broad smile and said, "Hello, my name is Rock Lee. You must be Sakura. Would you like to go out with me? I'll protect you with my life." Sakura was stunned. She gave him a look. Anyone would want to flee after seeing that ridiculous jumpsuit and out of style haircut. No way. Lee bowed his head in surrender. With a sigh, the other white-clad child looked at Sasuke. "What's your name?" Sasuke gave a snort. The child gritted his teeth and said, "It would be courteous to tell others your name before asking for mine." The girl laughed. The boy immediately turned around and said, You should leave him alone. He has some major issues to deal with." The girl jumped back, gasping. Naruto grinned. "Hey, don't take it the wrong way, Sasuke, but he should know what he's dealing with." Naruto grinned as Sasuke started to leave, saying, "TCH, whatever." Naruto nodded his head in acknowledgement of the well-known Hyuga, saying, "Hyuga Neji. Rookie of the Year from last year. It's nice to meet you." Neji gave the boy a fierce look. He didn't even sense him approaching him without warning. "Who are you?" In an attempt to catch up with Sasuke, Naruto started to move away, just nobody. Neji grinned. This year's competition was going to be interesting. The girl gazed at the vanishing figure of Naruto. But he's cute. Sakura was attempting to flee Lee when Sasuke approached her. Before pulling Sakura away, Sasuke glanced at the other boy and said, "Sorry Rock Lee, but Sakura here is our genjutsu specialist. We need her right now." She finally understood what Sasuke had just said to her, and she blinked out of her state. She said in a whisper to no one in particular, "Thank you Sasuke-kun." Naruto yelled from behind, "Geez Sasuke, you didn't have to ditch me back there." Rock Lee was rejected, and Naruto noticed him leaning his head against the wall. Leaning over, he shrugged. He uttered the final remark a little too loudly. "It's okay. Pinky wouldn't be that great of a girlfriend anyway." What? Rock Lee and Sakura herself both gave him a hard time for his remark. In the meantime, the two teenagers who had previously guarded the door laughed behind a set of nearly closed doors. They dispersed into their original forms and held up a hand seal, saying, "So those are Kakashi's and Guy's prized team EH." A pair of Chunins took the place of the teenagers and smirked, saying, "This exam will be very interesting." Sasuke halted and spun around, saying, "Wait, Sasuke-san." He gave him a frustrated look and asked, "What do you want now Lee?" He simply could not cope with the green suit. Lee held out his palm in a subliminal way, saying, "Bring it on. I want to fight the descendant from the legendary Uchiha clan who was hailed for all the geniuses they produced." Sasuke grinned. "This might be a useful warm-up, I accept." Lee led the group into a spacious section of the structure. While Lee moved to one end, Sasuke moved to the other. Sakura ran toward Sasuke. He nodded his head and asked, "Are you sure you want to do this Sasuke-kun?" Naruto let out a yawn. "I would forfeit if I were you Sasuke." Sasuke gave him a fierce look. "But I'm not Udobi. I never turn down a fight against an opponent." With the best seat in the house, Naruto shrugged and leaned against a rail. As he stood there with his left hand behind his back, inviting Sasuke to attack, Rock Lee caught Naruto's attention. Naruto chuckled to himself. Those bandages on both of his arms show that he has down a lot of taijutsu training, even though he doesn't have a lot of chakra in his body. Sasuke needs to get ready because this is not something to be taken lightly. Conversely, Sasuke was attempting to examine Rock Lee. He kept thinking about the moves he would demonstrate to him. Lee began to run in his direction, saying, "If you won't come to me Sasuke-san, I'll come to you." Sasuke smiled. Amateur error. He raised his arms in defense of himself. Sasuke saw Lee sprint in his direction, getting closer and closer until Lee simply vanished. As Lee vanished before him, his eyes grew wide. Ninjutsu? Genjutsu? When Sasuke saw Lee standing in front of him, he was caught off guard and punched Lee in the face. Sasuke was hurt by his punch. It was difficult, and the sting was still present. He took a step back and attempted to reconsider his strategy. Sasuke closed his eyes and focused some chakra on them, saying, "I don't know how you did that, but let's see you do that again." His eyes weren't the typical onyx ones when he opened them. Instead, they were red and contained 2 tomes each. From a distance, Lee admired them, saying, "So that's the mighty Sharingan." Sakura squealed as she met Sasuke's eyes. Indeed, he possesses the Sharingan. Sasuke will find out whatever trick Lee-san is pulling. She felt her pride in Sasuke growing every second. Sasuke gave Lee a smile. "Come. Let's see what kind of trick you can do now." Naruto became increasingly interested in the match. Oh, he finally brought out the eyes. This might be an interesting match. Lee rushed forward and vanished once more, saying, "Here I come Sasuke-san." Sasuke watched to see where Lee might be. He repeatedly said in his mind, "Don't panic. These eyes will tell me where he is," in an attempt to calm himself. Once more, Sasuke saw Lee in front of him, but this time he was ready. "Let me see what trick you used now." Sasuke observed Lee making some hand gestures. Ninjutsu. As Sasuke got ready to halt the assault, he discovered Lee was still running in his direction, the gap closing. Sasuke leapt back and kicked Lee in the face as soon as he was in front of it, but nothing connected. When Sasuke noticed that nobody was there, his eyes widened. Sasuke's next realization was that he was in the air. Naruto became more interested. Sasuke kicked that Lee kid into the air and he vanished from beneath him. He is incredibly fast. Sakura, however, was horrified to see her Sasuke-kun being thrashed by a fashion catastrophe. Sasuke tried to focus again, but it was difficult when he was flying through the air. Something stabbed Sasuke in the back. Taking his finger off the back, Lee readied his trump card and said, "This is the hard work that I put in to defeat the type you call geniuses." Sasuke tightened his jaw. He watched as Lee went under his kick, and he kicked him in the chin to launch him into the air. Neither genjutsu nor ninjutsu was used. It was taijutsu. He cursed his good fortune for facing such a foe. As the bandages on the boy's arms slowly came off, Sasuke became alarmed and said, "Let me show you the move that will crush geniuses." Naruto saw everything that happened and knew the technique Lee was going to use. The Omet Renge was it. Naruto remembered that technique and shuddered. Rewind as he watched the field fill with his clones, Naruto stood smiling. "What are you going to do now, Araki, Nichan?" Araki grinned. "Gaki, I'm going to show you something that I once saw." Naruto scowled. This wasn't good because Araki Nichan ended up spending a week in bed every time he said that. When all of his clones vanished in a matter of seconds, leaving him alone in the field, his eyes widened. "What are you staring at, Baka?" A kick sent Naruto flying, and he let out a startled cry. His jaw hurt when he tried to move it. Someone was beneath him. "I hope you're prepared for this, Naruto." As the sense of insecurity grew inside Naruto's head, his heart rate increased. He asked, "What are you doing, Araki Nichan?" but got no answer other than the sensation of arms encircling him. He felt as though he was being flipped upside down and rapidly falling to the ground. This move is called the Omet Renge. Naruto was compelled to scream. "Ah!" He waited for the impact while closing his eyes. He opened his eyes slowly after feeling nothing and saw something really unsettling. "Ha ha ha, Naruto. You should have seen your face." Naruto sulked. A little shaky from that last move, Naruto exclaimed, "Araki Nichan, that wasn't funny," and got to his feet. Naruto nodded his head slowly, relieved that he had not been smashed into the ground. "I learned that from a weird person whose name I can't remember, but I would recognize him anywhere. If you didn't think that was funny, you'll be laughing when you met the guy who I learned it from." He imagined what might have happened if his head had struck the floor. In his mind, images of a tombstone kept appearing. End of flashback. Shaking his head, Naruto returned his attention to the match. "You were open to attack because that was a weak point in the air." Not wanting Sasuke to be slammed into the ground, Naruto leapt in. Lee sensed something approaching Sasuke just as he was ready to apply his bandages. Naruto caught Lee's bandages and pinned them to the wall after throwing a few kunais at him. "I can't let you do that move, Lee-san." With a thump, Sasuke hit the ground. With his pride already bruised from Naruto's arrival and rescue, he growled a little. "I could have handled Adobe." Naruto gave a little laugh. Naruto looked at Lee and said, "That and you would have been 6 feet under. You know that move is a forbidden move, Lee-san." Lee cast a shamed glance down. Silently, he slowly put his bandages back on. Naruto let out a sigh. "I won't tell him, Lee-san," Lee said, looking up hopefully. Lee began to droop his head, saying, "But..." He was aware of this direction. "You will tell him yourself." Lee bowed his head and vanished, heading out to locate his team. "Hi, Naruto-san." Naruto turned back to Sasuke and extended his hand. "Got your ass kicked there, Sasuke?" With a sly smile, Sasuke took the hand. It was a warm, up for the exams. If the Chunin exams had this many formidable opponents, this was the place for him. This is where he can learn a lot of new skills. Sasuke found himself pondering. Yes, he would be one step closer when he was finished here. Naruto's voice brought Sasuke back to the present by saying, "Enough brooding. We're going to be late if we don't hurry." Sasuke began to walk. Sakura trailed behind, and Naruto simply smiled. "TCH, you don't tell me what to do." "Oh, my poor Lee." A voice shouted loudly. The power of youths failed him. "I will make him do 100 laps around Konoha to make him feel better." Another voice let out a sigh. "What did you say, Guy?" Guy's step wavered. "Oh, that's so hip of you, Kakashi. That's why you're my fierce rival." Kakashi gave a headshake. He finds it hard to believe that he followed Guy to witness Lee and his team's battle. He would have stepped in himself, but he was relieved that Naruto halted the final move. Ignoring Guy, Kakashi declared, "I will perform 300 push-ups while carrying rocks on my back if Lee is unable to complete 100 laps." He had more energy than any Raiden jutsus when he first began using this power of youth stuff. When Guy persisted in yapping, Kakashi concluded it was time to leave. Guy was left to vent alone as Kakashi began to leave. This was going to be an extremely fascinating test.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.